Wes, is it too late to wear a Christmas shirt?
It's the perfect time to wear a Christmas shirt because that's the best time. Like everybody's wearing Christmas shirts in December. Like wearing them in January, that's you're a trendsetter if you do that.
So it's sort of like wearing a band's T-shirt who like I don't know who isn't touring right now, right? It's sort of like, oh, look at me, I like this band even when no one's talking about them. So like it's me, like me being like,
Right.
hey, fucking look at me, I'm Christmas 24/7, bitch.
Yeah, something like that. Although I got to say the Christmas shirts that I saw this year were cooler than the typical ones. Like my kids all wore like special Christmas stuff this year, and my sons wore shirts that basically said autism on the front of them, and they had like this weird picture. And then my nephew had one with the cat smoking Marlboros on it, like a sweater, Christmas
Mhm.
sweater with a cat smoking Marlboros. And my daughter had a sweater with a cat that's like passed out and drooling, and it had Benadryl logo on it, which I thought was hilarious.
I love it. I love it. That I didn't know where that was going. I'm still not sure where it went, but it could have gone worse. Wes, I'm so happy to be doing this. Let's start the show. You ready to do this?
Yeah, please.
Let's go. This is PSVR Gamescast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Two Eyes Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure. A little 6:09, I guess. It's close enough. I feel like we're on virtual strangers time. That's not
Yeah,
true.
100%.
If we're on virtual strangers time, we wouldn't even schedule this thing until about 2 a.m. and then we started about 3 a.m. My name is Brian Powell from this channel right here without Parole. And this gentleman over here to my left, your right, is Wes Dillon from Virtual Strangers. Hey, Wes.
Hello, Brian. Hello, Game Cats. Happy New Year. It's we finally made it to Q1 2026.
Wow. In Q1 2026, already looking pretty good. Not going to lie. I'm just lying. I have no idea. I have not been keeping an eye on anything. I feel like I am. How the hell did you end up in your name tag again? I'm going to have to start. Get it that way.
I can do it.
Okay.
Tell me when to stop.
The other way.
The other way. Okay.
The other way. Big time.
So now I'm going in the opposite direction that you had me go before the show. So.
That's so strange. Oh, okay. Now you're good. Now you're good. All right. Yes, and I actually know why that is. I might have you. Anyway, I might have you horizontally flipped on my show. My apologies. Man, how's everybody in the chat doing? How's everybody? I know we did a show Monday. It didn't feel like a proper show. AJ wasn't there. I sat and smoked weed for like 2 hours and talked about Fight Club or something. I don't know exactly what went down. Everybody in the chat thought I was high, but whatever. What are you going to do? This feels like the first proper show of the year, right? Having a co-host and talking about some PSVR2 games. I'm excited. I'm excited, Wes. Are you happy to be back?
Absolutely, man. Like this last few weeks to a month has been awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like I've had a little bit of break from work, a lot more time spent with the family. But yeah, man, like there's something to be said, especially when you get to be old like us. There's something to be said for the routine, right? And I'm kind of ready to fall back into mine, if that makes sense. But while I'm thinking about it, shout out, best wishes to AJ, man. How long has he been sick? For like a minute, right?
Yeah, since like 94, I think.
Yeah. So sorry to hear that he's having such a time with it. And by the way, he's on the mend. He's almost there. But yeah, feel bad for that guy having to deal with this through the holiday season, man. That's pretty rough.
Yeah. It sounded like he was almost ready to come back, but it's just not quite there. And so it sounds like as long as everything goes as planned, as long as he follows his doctor's orders, he'll be back. He'll be back on Monday. It sucks, man. Every time I get sick and it's that long of an illness, it's almost like you lay in bed forgetting what it feels like to not be sick, right? It's like sometimes you're sick for so long you don't even remember what it feels like to be able to be up and do shit again. So I'm sure he's going through that a little bit right now. So best wishes, AJ.
For sure.
What do we want to talk about, man? I got this Patreon scroll kicking. I got that updated today. That's good. I'm just making sure that everything else is updated the way it's supposed to be.
Why don't we talk about Andrew Ehrenreich?
We can talk about Andrew Ehrenreich. I love talking about Andrew Ehrenreich. I don't know if Andrew Ehrenreich loves when I talk about Andrew Ehrenreich, but I love it for sure. And so let's give a shout out to Andrew Ehrenreich with my tip window's broken. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, I have no idea where it is. Hold on a second. I got this. I promise I want it to be on the screen. It's all broken. All right, it'll be on the screen in a second here. Andrew Ehrenreich with the $10 tip says, Merry Christmas. Haven't touched VR since starting Baldur's Gate 3. What a fucking traitor, Wes. Goddamn stinking traitor, but I'm fucking right there with him. I didn't play VR my entire break, so I totally understand that. When you do something for work, it's like not doing it for a while. It's really nice. So dude, we totally get it. Totally understand. He says, almost done and ready to get back into the headset. But what should my first VR game of the year be? Thinking Shadowgate, Zero Caliber, or I'm guessing
Thief.
he means Thief. Ha. Okay, thank you. I don't know. What do you think, man? I bet I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah. Now, cards on the table. I am a bit biased here, but not nearly enough people talking about Shadowgate in the holiday season. And of course, I understand why. Like when you start dropping, V-Racer Hoverbike and RoboQuest and Audio Trip and Shadowgate, like people can't buy them all, right? But I feel like, with the extra week or two of delay that we put on Shadowgate, that we broke our momentum there. And then by the time the holiday season rolled around, everything's on sale. So yeah, obviously I'm partial, but Shadowgate's a great game. Zero Caliber is another great choice as well. Obviously, if you're looking to play with friends, that would be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean that's how I got through Zero Caliber. Nothing wrong with the single player campaign, but there don't seem to be too many repercussions for your actions, and just kind of going through and dying, and then and then being like, oh, okay, well now you're alive again. Dying, and okay, now you're alive again. Dying, now you're alive again. It's like it just feels like you're chipping away at something without any real repercussions. However, when you play with friends, like that's totally fine, because like being there with your friends is sort of the fun part. It sort of helps you ignore stuff like that doesn't quite gel, from a gameplay perspective. So yeah, I would definitely say Zero Caliber. It's a good time. Really impressed with some of that game, and it sounds like they've already made quite a few improvements. So I'm looking forward to getting back in there and seeing if they've addressed those audio issues. And what else was there? Was something else that was wrong with it?
They posted about it like a day or two ago. Let me see if I can get to that. And there's an update coming soon. PSVR2 patch coming, improving haptics, controller rumble, LOD distances, which is much needed, by the way. Yeah. Texture quality, also much needed, and overall performance. So coming this month to Zero Caliber.
Nice. Listen, I know it's kind of an older game. It's running at 90 native on the PSVR2. It's running super high resolution, the display, not some of the textures, but most of the textures I thought looked pretty good. People seem to be very, very focused on specific things. This rock doesn't look very good. And it's like, all right.
Right.
And the LED pop-in is very noticeable. So I'm 100% understand all this. But man, like the thing that really was jarring to me is like, okay, it didn't have adaptive trigger support until a few days after launch. That's fine. But then the generic adaptive trigger support it got really made me appreciate some of the stuff that you guys in VR Monkey did with RoboQuest VR, because the adaptive trigger support actually felt different in those weapons. And, I'd rather have generic adaptive trigger support than no adaptive trigger support, but it's very, very noticeable that they just had like this generic resistance for every single weapon. So I feel like that they could there's still quite a bit of room for improvement here.
For sure. And for what it's worth, we did. I'm assuming get to cheat a little bit with our adaptive trigger profiles as the flat version of RoboQuest on PlayStation supported adaptive triggers on the DualSense. So we pointed VR Monkey toward that. I don't know how much they use it. I can't confirm for sure that they used it, but I don't see why they wouldn't have, you know?
Yeah. We got Awesome Tatum in the chat sending 5 without parole gift memberships. Thank you so much, Tatum, for your generosity. Also, good to see you here. I know that Tatum, the last time I talked to Tatum, he was talking about how busy everything was. You know, working multiple jobs and family and all this stuff. Hopefully, should settle down a little bit for you, man. We love you and we miss seeing you around. Andrew Ehrenreich with the level 2 membership says, Thief. Don't mind my typos. My keyboard is being dumb. You figured it out. I read there. Or I actually thought it was a mistype where he said the other. I was really stretching. Twitcher sent 1 without parole gift membership. Thank you guys for your generosity. We love you very much. If any, listen, I feel like we are definitely dusting the blow off right now. We've got all sorts of cobwebs and we're trying to figure out like, how do we do this again? Like it's been weeks since we've done this. And I feel, you know, doing Monday's show, I was like, oh, I feel like I've never done this before. I felt so out of the loop. And then actually somehow that feeling persists today where it's like, I forget how to do the show with a co-host. So if anybody's got questions or anything like that, any viewer takeover type of questions, anything you want us to talk about, feel free to hit us up in the chat. Sirens on my balls. Dude, let's talk about the top selling games of December that PlayStation posted over on the blog. Here it is. December 25th. That's what I was trying to say. December 2025, top downloads. We're going to skip all the PS5 and PS4, and we're going to go right to the PSVR2 stuff. We'll start at the bottom. This will be interesting. I have not looked at these yet. So this is new to me. Coming in at number 10, Pavlov. It's great. Game that was been there since like launch. NFL Pro Era 2. Fucking, I don't know. Okay. Dude, this is crazy. NFL Pro Era? Like, I don't know. Hold on. We're just gonna go through these and then we'll talk about it. Number 8 is Synapse. Number 7, Gun Club VR. 6 is Creed Rise to Glory. 5 is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. 4, Alien Rogue Incursion VR. 3, Among Us 3D VR. 2, Job Simulator. 1, Beat Saber. I would say this is a baffling list, Wes, but I am very used to being baffled every single time we look at these sales charts, right?
Yeah.
Not a single new game on here from October, November, or December.
That's right. And it's very much the same on the EU side. Some baffling entries to be sure. You know, like most of it makes sense to me, right? When you think about it, this is for December, and we had a ton of new people coming in buying headsets.
Yep.
I mean, and I feel like a lot of people bought headsets. They were out on the official Sony store. They were out on Amazon. I went into Walmart just today, and again last week, or maybe it was the week before, completely clear. The shelf is clear. There's no PSVR headsets there to buy. There are Quests, no PlayStations. So we feel like we had a lot of people, a lot of new people join the market, and it only stands to reason that most of these people aren't going to be in the know. They're not going to know what the latest indie games are. So when you look at this list, you see a lot of franchises. You know, I see NFL, I see Creed, I see The Walking Dead, I see Alien, Among Us. You know, these are all things that non-VR gamers are going to be familiar with. And then even when you're talking about Job Simulator and Beat Saber, these are games that, you know, most people know about at this point. Now, with that said, I have no idea why there's so much success for Gun Club this month. That one strikes me as a bit odd. But yeah, for the most part, this all makes sense. And as I was talking to you about earlier, it's another one of these reminders that we get every now and then that the majority of the market aren't enthusiasts like we are. These are just, common consumers, Joe and Sally Walmart, so to speak, and they spend their dollars on things they're familiar with. So in that sense, it does make sense.
Yeah, Gun Club's on sale right now for $5. And so if you look up any review of it, even if you end up like on my PSVR1 review of it, talk about how great it is and how realistic the weapons are, and how, like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So I can totally see. I can totally see people being like, oh yeah, I just want to shoot guns in VR. $5, sure. Okay. And luckily we got an awesome PSVR2 port of it. They really killed it with the adaptive trigger support and the resolution and all of that. Like, they did a great job. The binary mill constantly bringing us amazing versions of games on PSVR2. Hopefully that keeps up. Hopefully the games have sold well enough for them to continue doing that. But I'm with you, man. It is so obvious here that these are all recognizable IPs. Beat Saber and Job Simulator are two of the most recognizable VR games ever, right? They're just really well known. We know that they've sold millions and millions of copies. But then below that, easily Among Us. Yep, I bet there's a lot of kids who got a PSVR 2 for Christmas. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. This shit doesn't get much bigger than The Walking Dead. And then yeah, all this other stuff is, it's older stuff that like Gun Club is probably on sale, which is like, I don't know, man, probably a little infuriating for people making new games. And saying, oh, here you go, here's some great stuff, and then like people have too many games that they want to get caught up on, and too many games that are on sale for any new game to even crack the top 10. So I don't know. That's what hopefully all those games.
I always laugh.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's why I always laugh when these studios put so much effort in trying to launch during this period. Like even like these small indie games, that they treat Black Friday like it's a red line that they just can't cross. They have to be on the market by then, or they're going to miss out on all of this, money. But the truth of the matter is like that's the most competitive time of the year. That's when you don't want to launch. Like obviously you want to be on the store at that point. So you can put your title on sale as well and hopefully get some sales. But to me, like I would be trying to get my game out by like September, October, that way you have a little bit of spotlight before all of these games go on sale for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. And I would definitely be doing the Arcanage thing. Like, I do not want to get my game out for October and then, quickly forgotten with all the other games that come out. Sweet Surrender just had that problem, right? Sweet Surrender had plenty of problems, but that is one of the big ones, I think. Honestly, I was saying on Monday's show, I would love to see an alternate universe where Costello didn't release Of Lies and Rain on the same day as V-Racer Hoverbike and in the same week as Rush VR Apex Edition. I'd like to see an alternate universe where they release Of Lies and Rain today.
Yeah.
Right? January 7th. Nice quiet fucking month leading into the new year, right? Where I think we have two things to look forward to later this month. We have Sky Fling. What the fuck is it called? The Zocus Stride ripoff. Sky Dance? Sky Jump? Sky Leap.
It's the Sky Leap. Okay.
And also the game we'll be talking about later on is Umami Grove, which is coming out finally after years, late in late January. So yeah, I mean, I think it'd be perfect. The dust, the chaos, the craziness settles from the holidays, and then you get this nice quiet month, and then you get all the attention. And I think their game would have sold 3 times better at least if they'd gotten out of that messy release calendar.
Yeah. If you can time it right and you have a decent game on your hands, if you can be the game that people are talking about at the end of January, that lines up perfectly for all of these people who got into the headset in late December and have played through their launch games now, or their first few games, and are looking for the next thing, right? If you can be the game everyone's talking about at that point, there's a lot of potential for you.
I am really happy to see. I will say this: I'm really, really happy to see. There is a lot of love for Horizon Rain going around right now. I keep seeing comments on their different podcasts or GamesCasts or in the review. People who are finally getting around to trying it and being like, "Yo, this is great. The ending is amazing. Oh, these data worlds are so challenging and addictive." People, I think it's slowly finding its audience, and so hopefully. Over time, it also got a €10 discount over the holidays in Europe. Did not manage to get on sale like they wanted in North America, though. So I think that's all it takes. That's all it takes is a little discount, and then people will start paying a little bit more attention to it.
Yeah, Horizon Rain data worlds are really cool. We were debating this. I got on a call with Looper and Dee the other day, and we were sorting out the nominees for the 2025 show awards. And we were wondering to ourselves whether or not we should nominate that game for best platforming, because in those data worlds, there's some really cool platforming going on.
I mean, my answer would be yes, right? I mean, I'm not going to talk about Reach. My 2026 New Year's resolution is to not talk about Reach. So,
gotcha.
But I like the platform. I like the platforming of Horizon Rain better than Reach. Horizon Rain feels like an arcade game, like in the data worlds. It does. It feels like an arcade game. You're bouncing around. They don't care. Like, motion sickness be damned. You're going to be bouncing around. You're going to be jumping and double jumping and triple jumping. It's good stuff. It's a nice break from the more slower paced campaign that you got going on.
For sure.
Yeah. What else we got to talk about? You want to talk about it? Let me ask. I just said that I haven't really been playing anything over the break, right? That I took some time away in order to just kind of chill. And the games that I've been playing on mostly on my Switch too, and I've been playing them in bed while I watch movies or TV shows. Also, by the way, I recommended a ton of shit that I've been watching on Monday's show, but I don't think I mentioned The Chair Company. Have you seen The Chair Company?
I'm really not up to date on the current series. I'm currently rewatching Game of Thrones for like the 5th time. But no, I have no idea what The Chair Company is.
It's Tim Robinson, and he's the guy who did I Think You Should Leave, which is like a sketch comedy show, and that never resonated with me. It didn't. I was like, I don't know, maybe, but I only gave it like 10 minutes, and it was like, I'm very fickle about comedy. And then somebody recommended The Chair Company. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And it's so good, dude. The Chair Company might be my favorite TV show of like the last 5 years. Yeah, because it's got this awesome like deep conspiracy crap going on, and it takes the conspiracy stuff very seriously, but the humor in it is so good. It's like dark humor, and it's all about, like, to me at least, the humor in it comes from like when you become an adult and you have to start doing adult things and interact with other adults, and like you just don't fucking want to, and you end up being so fucking fake. Like when you go to the office, how you treat people, sometimes even with your own family. You just have to like be fake and say shit that like you wouldn't, or be over enthusiastic about stuff you don't care about.
Yeah, lie about things that there's no benefit that comes to you from lying about them.
Right. That's where the humor in The Chair Company comes from. Like, if you can appreciate people just being like absolutely obnoxious for that reason, I think that's where the humor comes from. And I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna check it out. I am a fan of comedy. Typically, Tim Robinson's a little silly for my taste, but this sounds a little different than his older stuff. So, yeah, maybe we'll give it a look.
Yeah, let me know if you do. I don't. It definitely
what
doesn't.
What platform is it on? What streaming platform?
Oh, I think it's HBO or HBO Max, whatever the fuck they call it now. Perfect. So my subscription is ending, so I'm like trying to, take in absolutely everything that I can on all these platforms that I still have subscriptions to, but they are all canceled, and I'm counting down the days. I'm like, oh my god, do I have enough time to get through an entire series in 3 days? That's what I did with Pluribus. I had a 7-day trial for Apple TV, and I literally watched 10 episodes of Pluribus, 8 episodes, whatever the hell it was. I love that there was just an arm. I just saw an arm walk by.
Yeah, that's my wife going to take care of the children. There's too much noise in the next room, so she's being a good lady and squashing it for me.
um, yeah, Pluribus I watched in like 2 days. Not even. I think most of it was one day. It's just like that whole day was Pluribus. Crazy. But
So that's Vince Gilligan, right?
yeah,
Pluribus.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and that's a bizarre one too. It definitely feels more X Files than Breaking Bad, but it's bizarre, and I love it. It was good. It slowed down near the end, but it's definitely worth watching all of. And I'll renew my Apple Plus or Apple TV when season 2 comes out. I'll check that shit out. Um, dude, hold on. I gotta run a show around here somewhere. I know I do. Let's talk about some bad news. Somebody brought this up on Monday's show, but I hadn't had really a chance to look into it. This is from Cloudhead Games. A message from Danny Unger, the CEO of Cloudhead Games. Said, I have some difficult news to share. Due to industry forces beyond our control, Cloudhead must make the difficult choice to reduce our workforce effective January 7th, 2026. 30% of us will remain to continue the mission. The team leaving us are consummate professionals and wonderful people in general. We took great collective pride in creating a culture that was as caring about VR content as they were working to support each other. He says a lot of great things here, but I'm going to fast forward a little bit. He says the general downturn of the gaming industry, VR still nascent challenges, including a lack of platform funding, have placed us in an impossible position. And while we've done all we can to reinvest in our people and VR's future from our prior successes, we can't build bigger swings alone. I mean, if anybody doesn't know, Cloudhead are the developers of Pistol Whip. They've done the gallery games on other platforms prior to PSVR2, even prior to PSVR1. But also Cloudhead, once Pistol Whip became a wild success, they never charged for DLC. They just constantly kept like delivering more content. Do you think that that's part of the problem, or do you think there's something else going on here, Wes?
No, I don't think that that's part of the problem. When you have a successful game like that, the biggest challenge is retention, right? You want to maintain your player base before you even start thinking about how you can expand it. Now, maybe they could have started selling their DLCs a little bit sooner, kind of Demio style, right? Where they give you a few and then they start charging for them. But I don't think that that's what's responsible for this, because we've seen typically pretty much every other major VR gaming studio in the industry do the same thing. Now, maybe not to this extent where they're going to cut 7 out of 10 people right off the top. But, the other studios typically will do multiple waves, right? So they'll cut a few and then they'll cut a few more. But this is just the industry correcting itself, right? Like we've talked many times on this program about how the way that Meta launched Quest 2 skewed the industry in a big way. And what he's saying is correct here. Like, it's not just a VR thing. The entire gaming industry is down right now and pretty much has been for the last couple of years. But with VR in particular, we had Meta come out and subsidize Quest 2 to the point where they were, taking a loss on every headset. And they did that at a point in time where everyone in the United States was getting a check from the government. Because you remember when like COVID happened, everyone got a big check from the government for economic stimulus. So it was kind of a perfect storm. It created inflated numbers for the Quest store, and everyone in the industry just assumed that there would be nothing but exponential growth from that point forward. So there was a lot of investment. People upscaled their staff. They started working on more content, more games, what have you. And since then, and especially over the course of the last year, um, Meta has really, in a big way, fumbled their storefront. Like, um, you know, free to play users aside, which, half of the Quest user base at this point or more are young free to play users, people who essentially are still playing on Quest 2, kids. But even besides that, like Meta has redesigned their store platform to the point where Horizon content and free to play content is making it nearly impossible for premium games for gaming enthusiasts to be able to find. Now they are fixing that slowly, and I do believe that they are going to continue to correct that. But it basically, this has been a disaster for everyone who invested in what they thought the VR market was going to be by now, only to find out that it's not. So everyone's readjusting now, everyone's correcting, and this is just the latest example of that.
Yeah, it doesn't have, I mean, we can put a lot of blame on Meta. We can put a lot of blame everywhere, including Sony. Like Sony is definitely partially to blame for this. We've heard from so many small indie studios that like Sony just isn't willing to isn't willing to fund anything, right? What they're funding is Hitman: World of Assassination. What they're funding is Resident Evil Village. What they're funding is Resident Evil 4 remake, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. They're like, we need to, the money that we're putting into VR is going to be for AAA hybrid games. And that seems to be like the be all end all now, right? And even that, very limited. They're doing that for 2 games a year. Right. It is like, hey, you bought this headset, you guys really love it. This is kind of like what we're going to do financially for you guys. And it doesn't seem like they're interested in like, making their own AAA games or their own hybrids for it. At least, at this point.
That's a great point. I shouldn't have just singled out Meta, because Sony has certainly done their damage to the market as well, even if it isn't as like direct as Meta's contribution. Because you're absolutely right. Funding has pretty much completely dried up. Not just from Sony, but while Meta is still funding projects, like it's more difficult now to get that kind of commitment from them. But not only that, but I think it's pretty safe to say that everyone agrees that Sony's done a lot to botch the launch of the PSVR2 platform. Not particularly right around launch. That first few months was great. It had a lot of titles come out, a lot of hype. I mean, there was a ton of hype around the platform when it launched, but I think we've all come to realize that it was overpriced at the time, and the software support from first party fell off a lot sooner than it should have, and it basically killed all the momentum that we had on launch, and has allowed those in the media who would be naysayers and haters, it's given them ammunition to be more effective in the last year to year and a half. So it's certainly doesn't all fall on at the footsteps of Meta. Sony has made their share of mistakes as well.
Yeah, and I do think that there's I think the tide is changing over at Sony. I do think that now that Jim Ryan is no longer in any kind of viable position, and we got people who actually care about VR leading SIE. Is it SIE? SIA?
Yeah.
Sony Interactive Entertainment, SIE. Thank you. I think things will change, but things change slowly. A multi-billion-dollar corporation, game development takes years to release a game, and so I do think we're going to start seeing some changes. And like, man, there's there's so much stuff that's been on my mind lately, like stuff that like, you know, I can't talk about. I'm assuming that you know stuff that you can't talk about, and it's all very optimistic, or it would make you optimistic, you know, if you heard us talk about it. And it's, you know, I think that the next couple of years we're going to see things like be good, but it's going to be kind of like good enough, right? Like VR is just kind of taking off, and it's taken longer than a lot of people expected. Even Shuhei Yoshida had gone on record being like, you know, we thought that PSVR2 was going to like be the PlayStation 2 of VR, where it was going to get everyone in the door and everyone was going to be on board and it was going to be awesome. And like that didn't happen, right? And so it's like I think Sony is figuring out what to do next, but they're not giving up on VR.
I don't think so either. I think for the most part, the industry still kind of believes what it always has believed, is that VR's time is coming. It's just not here yet, right? And for us gaming enthusiasts, I think 2026, 2027 is going to be amazing time for VR. We've basically had a period now where we've seen these types of layoffs and cutbacks and course correction on the point of on the part of the VR studios. So they're scaling back their staff, making difficult financial decisions, and at the same time that they're doing this, they're rediscovering the potential of the marketplace on PlayStation, on Steam. They're realizing that Quest isn't the end all be all. At the same time that this is happening, we've got Valve that is creating a standalone headset that plays PC VR games.
Yeah. And
what that has already done is cause Meta to completely shift their near-term focus. Whereas before they had scrapped the idea of doing a Quest 4 anytime soon. Apparently, they have once again switched course back to development of a Quest 4 headset. And at least at this point, it seems like that headset is going to be focused primarily on premium gaming, which, you know, isn't something we've really seen since maybe Quest 1 or even Rift S. Like to see Meta kind of invest in gaming, that's a good sign for everyone, right? That's not only going to reestablish that marketplace for the developers, but we're starting to see a real atmosphere now where another wave of competition can happen. You know, we've got Valve coming out with new hardware. We've got Meta developing new hardware. Samsung is developing new hardware now, or Google is developing their own platform. So all of this is kind of happening at the same time, and I think it spells good things for those of us that are here and have been here and don't really want to do all this other stuff. We just want to play games. And everything seems to be finally getting back to a point where the outlook is somewhat healthy.
Don't mind me. I'm just fixing the Gamescast layout, which is an absolute mess while you're talking. I got shit everywhere.
Oh, good.
Dude, but I completely agree. I think like there's a lot of shit that I think every hardware manufacturer thought VR was going to be bigger than it was sooner. And it's like, hey man, like that wasn't the case. The economy sucks. Video games in general, is the first downturn we've seen in decades of gaming. Right? It was like video games just been rising for decades. And then it's 2024, 2025. It's the first downturn. It's like shit happens. Shit changes. But the good thing to know is that like it's just going to take some time for everybody to readjust. The worst part about that is situations like this with Cloudhead. Is that it's just there's no immediate solution for these smaller studios. There's no immediate way to salvage these jobs. And with it being, it's all these employees having to find new employment. There's it's just like there's no way they're all going to land on their feet and they're all going to find a home, right? Because all of these studios are currently going through the same shit. So it's kind of a terrible place right now. But if any of these studios can weather the storm, I think next year at this point we'll be talking about a very different scenario.
Indeed. And by the way, all credit to Denny for putting out that long, heartfelt message when he announced this, and beyond just giving the obligatory "I'm sorry" message. Cloudhead is actively trying to promote the people that they're cutting and try to find new work for them. And I think most of them will find work. It may not be in the VR industry. I think some of them will work in VR, and others will probably find more boring work in traditional gaming, or a lot of them go to mobile gaming, God forbid. But again, this is all a natural part of the ebb and flow of the market. I do feel like we're coming to the end of this correction period, and I do think bright things are in store this year and next year and even the year after that. I really, really hope that this Valve headset is competitively priced, because if it is, I think not only is that great news for VR enthusiasts, but like premium gaming enthusiasts. That'll be a big boon for PC gaming, PC VR gaming, and as PC's cousin over here on console, we'll stand to benefit from that a great deal as well.
Markio in the chat says, I agree the frame will sell, but not be the savior VR is looking for. The emulation is cool, but it's slightly better than Quest 3. It's not going to play much better than that. I don't think it's about that. I don't think it's about the power, honestly. I think it's about the library, right? The Steam library of VR games is insane. And that's what's making me want one, right? It's just be like, hey, that way anybody who talks about a PC VR game, I can be like, especially the position I'm in right now and the position that I want Without Parole to be in 2026, where we are constantly talking to these PC developers and saying, hey, you should bring your game to PSVR2. I think it would be really helpful if I knew what the fuck the game was, right? And be able to just jump in there and be able to play their game and be like, all right, cool. I've got a PC capable of doing it. I do not want to play games on my PC. And I think there's a lot of people out there like me who desperately want to play these games, but just don't want to jump through the hoops that everyone in the chat is going to downplay the hoops in order to play. Trust me, I just don't want to do it. And so something that's like my Steam Deck that allows me to get into the Steam library with no hurdles at all. This is exactly what I'm looking for. This is exactly what console type gamers are looking for in order to just play the games, and that's the end of the story. And so I think it's going to do well, and I love that it's going to give people another place to sell their games. I know that Tuner Max was talking recently about how things didn't go well on PlayStation. They couldn't afford to renew their licenses for their PS5 dev kit in order to keep their games up and running, and but had a lot of hope that the Steam frame could be a massive source of income in the future, and if that's the case, then it'll allow him to return to PSVR2 development. So fingers crossed that it, I don't know if it's the salvation. I knew there'd be fucking people in the chat. Fucking smart. I knew it. There's no hoops. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just being a dick.
There is a bit of friction. Now it is overplayed in most cases. In most cases, it's fairly easy to just open up a game and start it, but there is some friction there, when you're talking about a platform that runs on so many different hardware configurations, both inside your PC and outside with all the different headsets and things that are supported. that means that there's any number of issues that you could face, and while all of them are, or at least most of them, are very easily solved, any one thing that you have to do extra is friction. And it's for that reason that even me sitting here with this 5090 PC, like I don't remember the last time that that I played a game on my PC. Like for the last probably 2 months, um, 90% of what I played has been on PlayStation, and then the other 10% has been on Quest. Because typically when I have time to play a game, it's at the end of the day. I'm tired, and I just don't want to fuck with it. So like I grab something that I can just pick up and put on and play. So with Valve kind of consoleizing the PC experience, be it in a standalone headset or in their box that's going to be launching concurrently with it. I think it's all good news for that platform. And again, if it's priced competitively, it could be very significant for the VR bubble, so to speak, because like think about that for a minute, man. People are going to have a device in their backpack that they can pull out and put on someone's face, and they can immediately play Skyrim or Fallout or Half-Life Alyx on this thing. And then, even for those that aren't, a VR enthusiast, they're going to be able to play like Arc Raiders on it, right? And
Right.
potentially even in 3D, which they can't even do that on their expensive monitors. So I think there's a lot of potential for it. And again, I think rising tides raise all ships. So I think it'll be good for everyone.
Yep, I agree. I agree. And I definitely play up that. I've done plenty of PC gaming on my PC. I've done plenty of VR gaming on my PC. But again, the problem with me personally is that I'm trying to run without Parole on this PC, and and it changes. Doing anything changes all these settings, and so it's like setting up Gamescast and being like, why can't I hear my co-host? It's like, because I plugged my Quest into my PC earlier and it changed all my audio settings. Right, that's where my frustrations come from. Right, if I my PC was simply for gaming, fucking fine, dude. It would be fine. It'd be fine, but that's not how my life goes. What was the point here? The point was Grandpa's Barbecue or Gamecat with the Australian $5 sent a tip, said, Wes, I know it's not Flat VR's mission statement, but in the next few years, any chance of a spin-off division making new IP hybrid games? Make your own games. Make them hybrid.
So trying to understand the question. So like, are you asking if we could be doing like from scratch, from the ground up, hybrid games? So new IP. So essentially, are you asking that if we're going to develop our own IPs but also sell on the flat market? I don't think we're going to be developing. I don't think we're going to be developing our own IPs anytime soon. Certainly, anything is possible. Even to the point where like we could potentially take some VR games to the flat market. So the kind of like the reverse, the reverse version of flat to VR, like VR to flat. Now don't quote me on that. This is not something that's in the works. I'm just essentially saying that anything is possible. But right now, our studio is built around bringing flat games into VR. It isn't built to work on like 3 to 5 year projects. We're here to do 12 to 18 month projects, and move on to the next. We're a high volume studio where we're trying to put out multiple games every year. And the only way you can do that is by picking up someone else's work and finishing the job. So we have very We have a very talented team that is constantly growing, but everyone pretty much specializes in what we do, and that is bringing the best traditional games into VR.
Hype Phase with Canadian $20. What's up, Hype Phase? said, Happy New Year to both of you. I had the house to myself all Christmas and thought I'd be VR gaming to no end, but my friend lent me a Raspberry Pi. I fell down the retro gaming rabbit hole. My thumbs hurt. Happy to see you. Dude. Getting a retro Pi or any kind of emulation machine, allowing you to play games from generations past, is one of the greatest things ever. Just having all of those in the same box, having all of them at your fingertips, not having to try to figure out how to make your N64 look good on an HD TV, right? Everything just outputs to the right resolution and looks crisp and clear on your HD TV. Bro, I am with you. I am like, it is neck and neck for me. I don't know if I'm more of a retro gamer than I am a VR gamer, but it is neck and neck. And I just, some shit just never gets old to me. Like I think PlayStation 1 graphics are just as nostalgic and beautiful and great to look at as SNES graphics. Right? I just love all retro stuff, and it's probably these these rose tinted glasses that I'll never be able to dispose of. Right? I constantly look at the world through this. But people are like, oh, if you go back and play those games, you'll realize they're not as good as you remember them. And I couldn't disagree more. I've gone back and played some games, even from the era that I've never played before, and been like, there is something just fucking awesome about everything from the NES generation through the PS2 generation. There's something very nostalgic. There's something very beautiful. There's something more wholesome, more artistic, where it didn't feel like developers were just like, how can we make the most amount of money on this game? Right? It just doesn't feel like that when you play those games. When you play games like that, when you play games now, flat screen games, it just feels like developers are like, how can we make everybody happy with this game? And you're like, boring. It's boring. So that's why, and again, I've said this 1,000 times, but this is why VR pulled me in so fast from the get-go, because I was like, these are people who are not out to make a quick buck for the most part, right? The shovelware companies are definitely out to make a quick buck.
I was about to say, man.
Right? But for the most part, right, when you play those early Outer Loop games, like Falcon Age and why can't I remember the other ones? Jesus Christ. What was the game about the dinosaurs in the Town Builder game? The Dino something. You just play these old games and you're like, these people were not looking to make millions of dollars. I mean, I'm sure they thought it would be nice if they could, but that wasn't their goal, right? Dino Frontier, that's what I was thinking of. It's just it just made these games that they wanted to make, and that's what VR has kind of been for the last 10 years. Because if these developers just cared about making money and that was it, that was all they cared about, then they'd be making a flat screen game.
Right, you're absolutely right, and yeah, the retro games certainly hold a very similar place. I feel like most of our arts, because like that was when we really fell in love with the idea of video gaming, right, and being immersed in digital worlds, and that's why we took so well to the first generation of VR, because it was a fulfillment of a dream that we've had since being kids, of stepping into the games that we love so much. So yeah, I agree with you on both counts.
That was all in response to Hypeface saying that he's been playing his Retro Pie. Oh man, we got Gamecat who sent 10 without. We should probably get to the topic of the show in a second here. Gamecat sent 10 without parole gift memberships. Thank you so much, Gamecat, for your endless contribution, your endless generosity. Thank you. We appreciate it. And also, shout out to everyone who just turned green. Old Darth with the Canadian $10 tip says, with the current market conditions, standalone headsets are in trouble. PSVR2 has no RAM reliance, and with PC adapters, it has no RAM reliance, and with PC adapter looks very attractive now. Do you think that's true?
I think that comment comes from a standpoint or a mindset of competition, kind of a console wars type mindset. I do think there's some underlying truth to what he's saying there, though, because when I said a moment ago that I really hope the Valve headset is priced competitively, in the back of my mind what I'm thinking is, RAM is very expensive right now. And I feel like if the components of that headset were at a stable, low price, we would probably already know what the price of the headset's going to be. So there's a lot of question right now around any hardware. I mean, we're seeing them saying that, it could be an extra year on the console generation, just because of scarcity of components right now. So there is truth to what he's saying, but I absolutely think that that there's always going to be a drive towards standalone hardware, not just in VR, but in general. Things need to be small, portable, and affordable, for them really to break through as a technology in this day and age. So, while certainly current market conditions are favorable toward an accessory versus a standalone unit, I only think that I think the market's really not to that point yet where there's heavy competition. I think we're all still kind of on Team VR right now, as opposed to like I don't know. I don't necessarily think if someone can't afford a Valve or a Steam frame, I don't think that they're necessarily going to go out and buy a PlayStation. I think the devices are fundamentally different in what they do, and so I don't really agree on that kind of perspective.
Let's get to some of these topics of the show, and then we're going to get back to those tips in a second. Guys, thank you so much for all your generosity. We really, really appreciate it. But we don't want this to be a 3-hour show. We will get to the tips after we get through the main stories. Starting with Umami Grove finally has a release date on PSVR2. If you've been watching the channel for a long time, you know that I've been talking about this game for a very long time. In fact, the announcement that it was coming to PSVR2 actually got revealed during a PSVR award show right here on Without Parole. That was literally 2 years ago. And they've been very quiet about it since. We knew about a month or two ago, they were saying that, hey, we're trying to get through Sony's QA. We'll keep you posted. And they just didn't want to say anything until then. Now we know that Umami Grove is coming out this month, January 27th. I don't know anything about the port. I don't know what frame rate they were going for. I don't know who ported this, if these developers are porting it themselves, or if this is like another VR monkey joint. But I'm excited, Wes, because this looks like the exact kind of cozy game that I'd like to start the year off with. Do you know anything about this?
Very little. I've always been more of a kind of a hardcore gamer. I'm not one to spend a bunch of time in these like games that are more focused on a wider casual audience, cooking games, and so on. But with that said, this doesn't seem to be your typical cooking game, right? Like they're selling this as a quote physics-based VR adventure. So while cooking is definitely like the main gameplay component here, they seem to be building up a world around that, and there's going to be some exploration elements and some other things in this game that kind of set it apart from your typical casual cooking game. So, like, it hasn't been on the top of my most anticipated list for sure. But, I'm mildly interested in it, and we'll definitely be checking it out when it comes along in a few weeks.
Yeah, I think, most cooking games on PSVR 2, I'm always like, man, this would be good if it was part of something bigger. Like, I love the fact that the cooking in Zenith, the MMO Zenith, was so well done, right? But that because it was just a small part of what you were doing in that game. Like, you're collecting shit as you're exploring, and then when you have some time, like, oh, you go set up shop back home and cook some meals and create these inventory items that you'll use later. Health items. or different stat boosts. So generally that's how I like this stuff. But this is this is boasting like kind of like this small open world that you're going to explore. There's lots of different characters that you're going to interact with and meet and go on a little quest for them, and just it looks like they've done all the VRAF stuff like really, really well. This isn't going to be for everyone, right? In fact, I put this in my top 10 list of upcoming games that I'm excited for in 2026. Kind of reluctantly, because it's definitely it's a me thing that like after killing zombies and after a lot of horror games and these high action racing games or whatever it is, like this just feels like something I'm going to be able to chill out to. I told you guys on Monday that I played through A Short Hike and just fucking fell in love with that game. A Short Hike is this beautiful, beautiful, cozy game. There's just so much like little fun things to do in it. It only lasts a couple hours, but it was just so it defines or redefines cozy games for me. And this looks like there's something similar. There's a lot to do, and at the base of it all is cooking. So I'm down.
Yeah, your typical cooking game. You're standing stationary in a little area. All of your ingredients are around you, and they just automatically spawn in. And it's more of a I don't know, like a multitasking exercise. This is not what Umami Grove appears to be. Like, sure, you're cooking in this game, but so much of the game is going to be exploring the world, finding the ingredients to cook. Like, they're not just going to spawn in on your table. Like, you got to go climb trees and pick apples. You have to go catch fish to cook. I love one of the things it says on the website is that you'll travel a gorgeous world, meet adorable creatures, and cook them or for them.
I think
usually.
Yeah, I do think you cook some of the characters in this game. I don't know. Also, this is the PSVR2 trailer that debuted today. It looks like it's the same footage. I don't think they actually created a new trailer. I think they just used their old trailer and slapped PSVR2 on it. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, that's standard practice. So many people do that. But yeah, apparently there it says there's a wide cast of characters in the game, and that in and of itself is going to set this apart from any other cooking game. Because the only characters you ever see in any other cooking game are your friends when you play multiplayer or something.
Yeah. There might be there is new footage in here. Anyway. I'm definitely trying to grab a review key for this. I want to make sure that I have this is how I want to start my new year off. This is when I put the VR headset back on. This is what I want to be playing. So I'm excited. We'll see if anybody else gives a fuck when it actually comes out. Makes me nervous. Right, things like this do make me nervous. Like I said, I was nervous about putting it on my top 10 upcoming games list because it's very much a me thing that I'm excited for, and too many people took that as a sign that like, oh, there's not good games coming out on PSVR2, and it's like, you guys don't know why I make videos. I'm not trying to sell this headset. I'm not trying to sell it to anyone. I'm trying to tell you guys what I'm excited for, and so, but I'm also like, it sounds like this has been in development for PSVR2 for so long. The port process took forever. And I was like, I really just hope that these guys can make their money back. And I hope it's good. I hope it's a good port. All right. Here, we're gonna get right into the main story, and then we're gonna tackle all of the tips. And the main story is, Wes, what game did we fucking play today? What happened? What happened? Where's my show?
We played A Long Survive today.
A Long Survive. This just got announced to be coming to PlayStation VR 2, and it is. And I will tell you something right off the bat. I want to apologize because my quest was not charged. I charged my quest for an hour, and it had like 20% battery. And then when I tried to play the game, when I tried to get in there with Wes, it suddenly dropped to 5% battery. I was like, what is happening right now? I tried to capture footage of me playing it, and that just completely tanked the battery. So I had to play without capturing footage and with it plugged in. And so I will tell you, it was not the optimal way to play this. And it also, dealing with all of that also kept me from playing as long as I wanted to. So I did though. I did get in enough, I think, I hope, to get some proper first impressions. Uh Wes, before I talk about my first impressions. Also, shout out to the developers who sent us keys so that we could check it out on Quest.
Absolutely. Yeah, that should we should lead with that is the reason why Brian struggled so much to get in and play the game before the show is because we literally got keys 2 hours ago. like right before the show start, we got the keys for it, and well, while on the surface, if you're watching the trailer, it may look like a pretty straightforward, simple game. It's not. The tutorial is actually quite long because there's a lot going on in this game in terms of progression and gameplay modes, character classes, these sorts of things. So just to get through the tutorial, ate half or more of the time that we had to play the game. And then the fact that Brian didn't have his battery charged when we got the keys pretty much killed any chance we had of getting in and playing together.
Yeah. And I will say, listen, like right off the bat, when I jumped in there, I was like, oh no, it's a co-op shooter. It's a co-op first person shooter. And I was like, but the second I got in there, like it kind of throws you into a small area and says, okay, here's your base. Defend it from these aliens that are coming to attack it. And I was like, oh man, it's a wave shooter. I was like, this is not at all when I was looking at the trailer, when I was looking at the description, I was like, oh, co-op shooter, thinking co-op campaign shooter, that kind of thing, like where it's like, oh, that's narrative driven, blah blah blah, and it is a wave shooter, but it's also got all of these tower defense elements that sort of start springing up the more into the tutorial you get, and then once you get into the game, and so what starts off as something that seems like just ridiculously simple starts showing its depth very quickly. And I was like, oh man, like I do think that this game has a little ways to go in terms of polish and maybe even some mechanics that could be smoothed out a little bit. But I think the core of what they have going on here could be a lot of fun. How far into this did you get, Wes?
I played it for a little bit more than an hour, maybe close to 90 minutes even. And it should be said off the top, I don't know if this game is technically early access or not, but it very much is early access. This is a game that's being actively developed. They have a roadmap that they're working through, and most of the roadmap is unrealized at this point. The game is currently available for $15 on MetaQuest. It's coming soon to Steam and PSVR2 as well. And Brian nailed it. Like it's, so much of the minute-to-minute gameplay is a co-op team-based wave shooter, but that's not the game. Like the shooting is almost secondary. It's more about the strategy of it and defending your point. Like it's a tower-less defender, so to speak. I don't know if many people out there are familiar with the game Guardians Frontline, but it's that model. It's like Guardians Frontline, except you're in interior situations where Guardians put you outside, like on an alien planet. This will either have you inside in a base, or it'll have you in like some kind of cave system or something. There's three gameplay modes. The standard gameplay mode puts you defending your point, stationary point, for 50 waves. The average time, the game tells you the average time to play a round of this is 2 hours. Okay.
Well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. There are other gameplay modes, though. The secondary gameplay mode also puts you defending a point, but every 3 rounds that point changes. You have to literally pick up the base and move it to another point, and then defend for another 3 rounds, pick it up, move it again, And that's tricky because there is an electrical system around the point that you're defending, and all of the things that you're building around it strategically to defend it, whether it be turrets or barriers or what have you, like a weapons crafting station, all of it needs power. So when you move that defense point, you have to move everything with it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of strategy involved in what type of things you're building up, what type of infrastructure you're going to build to defend your point, and of course, what role each player on your team is going to take. Anyway, the second gameplay mode I'm talking about here is 20 waves instead of 50. I think they, I don't remember exactly what the standard time was to play one of those, but it was much shorter. It was less than an hour. And then there's a PvP mode. But the PvP mode is not like a standard PvP where everyone's just trying to kill one another, but is rather a competition of first one to, I think, 50 kills or something like that. And then that mode, I think it said like 10 or 15 minutes to play through a round of that. All the while, no matter what mode that you're playing in, your character is building stats. You're getting XP that you will then be able to spend on abilities and traits. And then there's a wide selection of abilities that you can unlock for each character class. There's 4 character classes that you can choose from. There's a tank, there's an attacker, there's an engineer, and a healer. So again, while on the surface, this looks like a very standard Quest 2 developed wave shooter, there's really a ton more going on than just that.
World of Longplay is asking in the chat, is this co-op only or can this be played alone? Because of what I was dealing with today, the plan was for me and Wes to play this together, right? And really check out like how good the co-op is. But because of the issues I experienced with my own headset, I was only able to play it single player, and you have some AI bots running around and shooting aliens with you in that mode. So you do not need to play this with friends. Dude,
and you know what? I didn't think the AI was all that bad either for the co-op bots that they put in with you. They seem pretty competent with regard to their ability to fight. Now, with that said, when I played the mode where you move the base around, I was hoping they would follow me. They didn't seem to want to follow me. So I did get my play session cut off short, so maybe they would have eventually fell in behind me. But it would be good. It would be nice throughout the course of development if there were some features built in where you can kind of direct the AI. Like if you want them to stay in an area or hold this point or that point, it would be nice if you could direct your AI.
Listen, Javi from hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Is it Javi? Javi? From Friendly Fire Studios is in the chat. Hopefully you can answer some of our questions. This was announced for PSVR2 coming soon, and I would love to know like what soon means. And part of me is hoping that like you kind of get the roadmap completed before it comes to PSVR2, so it launches full featured and in the best way possible. It is something I feel like we're seeing, and let me know in the chat, guys, if you disagree with me. But I think PSVR2 gamers, console gamers, were a little bit different than maybe Quest gamers, than definitely Steam gamers, right? I think we're so used to games coming to PSVR2 when they're done, full featured, and if they're not, is so few people want to go back to games after they've been updated after 6 months or 7 months or 8 months or a year. So like, oh man, I had my time with that game. I think I would actually kind of like to see you guys pump the brakes and release this when it's completely done, when you've completed the roadmap on PSVR 2. But please, guys in the chat, let me know if I'm alone on this. Wes and I were talking about how he and I do not represent so much of the VR community before the show started.
Right.
And so we always want to make sure that Without Parole is a place where like everybody's voices get heard, right? We don't want to just be us spouting shit that like no one agrees with. So yeah, let us know. Also, since Javi's here, like let us know what you're targeting, right? Like I want to see this game, since it kind of takes place in like smaller arenas, or you know, these aren't these like big open world type things. Like I really want to see you guys focus on like getting this up and running at 90 frames native. I want those adaptive trigger supports and haptic responses to be really, really strong. You know, use DFR so it can be like razor sharp resolution wise. I'm really hoping that. Please.
So I have a few notes here on these things that you're mentioning. And by the way, if it's showing up as Javi or Javi on your screen, on my screen it is Mr. Taishi Jury. So we do have a developer in the chat. You guys feel free to throw questions out there. Thank you, Javi, for showing up. But
Javi would make more sense.
Yeah, it would a little bit.
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, I don't think they're going to fulfill their roadmap before launching on PlayStation. I do think that they're going to continue. I think they said that they're going to be further along on the PlayStation roadmap than they are going to be on the others when it comes out. But there's still going to be a lot to come. With that said, the game currently is running at 120 hertz natively on the PlayStation 5 standard. Now, with that said, obviously this is a Quest port. The game is going to be updated over time, and that could pull that back a little bit. But they're already running natively at 120 hertz in their testing, and they are working on implementing DFR. They don't have that in there yet. That may or may not be ready for launch, but they are working on it. And what else did they say here? They said that one thing that they said that is a little concerning is that crossplay isn't going to be supported on PlayStation. So like Quest and Steam players play together, PS5 players are going to be in their own pool. That's a little bit.
It sucks. It sucks, but it is 100% like actually understandable, considering we constantly hear from developers how difficult and how expensive it can be to get crossplay up and running on PSVR or PlayStation 5 in general. So kind of understand it, but it does suck, right? We want to be able to jump in there. So many of the cats like aren't interested in joining the Discord and being like, hey, anybody want to play this game? They just want to start the game and immediately like have people to play with, randoms in the lobby. And that's just such a it's a huge ask when it comes to VR, right? And crossplay is really the only way to make that happen. And even the number of games that we've gotten crossplay support of, and by the time it gets to PlayStation, it's like no one's playing it on Steam or Quest anymore, right? It's so even crossplay isn't a guaranteed way to keep those lobbies filled.
And as bad as it sucks for us, the players, it sucks just as bad for the studio, because if you're trying to sell a multiplayer game, the number one thing you're selling is a lobby with players in it, right? And if you're segmenting your player base by not having full crossplay, it's only going to harm that prospect. It's going to hurt the Steam version of the game because the PlayStation players aren't in there, right? And vice versa. So yeah, hopefully this is something that isn't set in stone and something that they can make happen for launch.
Javi in the chat said the bots defend the Nexus, but if you press the right analog stick, you can send it to the mark. We are working on adding commands. Good
nice. News. That's good. That's good to know. I was constantly pressing the right stick, trying to squat, because there is, to their credit, there is a seated mode in the game already, which is great. There's a ton of, not a ton, but there's a really good amount of options here There wasn't really anything that I was looking for and couldn't find, so that's all good. But there is a squat function tied to the pressing in the left thumbstick. So like the game automatically has auto run on all the time, so you're always running. But still, you have that reflex, right? That you push that left stick in to try to run, and every time I push it, I would squat down when I was trying to run away. Um, but anyway, yeah, I forgot how I got on that tangent. But yeah.
Yeah. And I guess my, where I'm coming from here, my place of concern about this game is that, like, I just, we saw it with Underdogs and we saw it with Sweet Surrender. Games overall sell better on PSVR2 than they do on Quest or Steam, or, at least similarly. And so we just want to make sure you guys at Friendly Fire Games are making all the right moves. We don't want anybody to think, oh, they say that games just sell better on PSVR2. Yes, they do in general, with a massive asterisk next to it, right? Want to make sure that it's polished at launch, make sure that it's easy to recommend at launch, make sure that it's, got all of the features that, we're looking for as PSVR2 gamers, the adaptive trigger support and the advanced haptics and the headset haptics and all of this stuff that, DFR, in order to get that resolution up, again, razor sharp. These are kind of the things we're looking for, and these are the things that make it easy to recommend. And so we just want to make sure that, we're setting you guys up for success. And so we don't want to make it sound like we're shitting on your game or shitting on, even what we played today. I thought what I played today was really fun. I'm actually, I probably try to find some time to meet up with Wes in it and actually, see how the multiplayer plays out. We just want to make sure you guys are set up for success when it does get to PSVR 2. So please keep us posted on that progress.
And for what it's worth, apparently a huge mistake or misreading on my part. Crossplay between all platforms. So it is between all platforms. The thing he sent me said crossplay will be between Quest and Steam. I guess what that was meant to say was that PSVR players will have crossplay with Quest and Steam. So all players will have crossplay ability, which is great. They didn't confirm or deny like adaptive triggers and headset rumble, but I did make a very strong recommendation to them that they have that stuff at launch, and they were very receptive to the message. So
cool. Yeah. And again, Javi, thanks for being here and clarifying. I wish we had that Men in Black device where we could just like erase everyone's memory and be like, no, it does have crossplay. Last thing we want to do is be sitting up here and misinforming people. So yes, it will have crossplay across all platforms. That's awesome. Awesome.
And it'll have better graphics too, because one of the things he mentioned to me, they're getting ready to push an update to Quest 3. So the graphics are getting ready to be significantly enhanced for Quest 3 players. And I'm sure that Steam and PSVR 2 will, at the very least, be on that level, but probably even more so.
I'm looking forward to playing more of this, man.
He says, yes, there is friendly fire in our game. I found that out the hard way. The way my tutorial run ended, so the tutorial runs you through a like a very basic watered down version of a round, and then it gives you a second playthrough that's a little bit more advanced and a little bit more like the regular gameplay. I got halfway through the 10 rounds that I was supposed to play through, and I laid a mine on the ground. Like, one of the things you can buy are mines. So I laid a mine right beside my nexus point, and I went and stepped on the mine, blew myself up, and that was the end of my run.
That's great. That is great. All right, dude, we got to move on to some of these tips. But good stuff, man. Good stuff. Like, this is, yeah. I gotta keep my Quest plugged in, man. I gotta keep that battery charged. I wonder if having it, I wonder if allowing it to just be sitting dead for a month at a time, 2 months at a time, 3 months at a time, are just killing the actual battery.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, capturing footage just destroys your battery. Like
That
it
explains
goes
that.
down very quickly when you're recording footage. Secondly, were you plugged into your PC or plugged into a brick on the wall?
Brick on the wall. Just another brick
Okay.
in the wall.
Was it the one that came with the device, the white brick?
You're asking very good questions, Wes, and if I had the answers. I don't honestly
Um,
know. The
so
official brick, I'm sure, does a better job than a generic brick.
much, much better. Like most generic bricks, charge at 1,000 milliamp hours. The Quest bricks are twice that. So you very much want to have the standard brick or an equivalent to be plugged into. But I'm sure it's just that your battery was low, and then you started trying to record on it, and it just tanked. You know.
Yep, that is exactly what happened. Old Dog says keeping it plugged in all the time isn't good for the battery either. Yeah, I just need to use it more. Right, I need
I
to
keep
charge
mine
it
plugged
up.
in
And
constantly.
oh, well, perfect.
Maybe I'm destroying it, but yeah, that's the funny thing when people always talk about, tethered versus standalone. It's just funny to me because like I play a lot of standalone games, but it's always tethered. Like I always have that cable 100% of the time. So
And the Quest 4 will be out soon enough anyway. It's like, what are we keeping these things in good shape for? Right?
there you go. There you go.
I tend like for devices that I think I'm going to have for 10, 15 years or something. I'm very careful with, and but the Quest is made to be disposable and to be
Yeah.
replaced in a couple of years. So not too
Yeah,
concerned.
you'd like to think that you'll use them forever, but honestly, I have three Quest 2s sitting around here, and I don't think I've touched any of them in well over a year. Like they're just sitting here. So, uh, yeah, I don't think there's any major concern there about the battery. The battery starts fucking up, then sell it. Sell it on Facebook Marketplace. Get a new one.
I traded my Quest 2 for a backwards compatible PS3. I think I got a really good deal. Yep.
Um, Zek Lightning in the shelf in the chat, the shelf. Zek Lightning Blue Elf in the chat asks if there's any story or narrative to the game. I wouldn't call it story driven. There is lore, like they do tell the story of what's happening, and there is there's a story behind what you're doing. You're not just defending this point just to defend it. Like you're to oversimplify, you're basically going into a hostile planet to mine energy and resources out of it, and any activity that you make toward that attracts these monsters towards you. So, like, yeah, that's there is a story, but it's not. It's not like super detailed, heavily thought out. This is very much a co-op action shooter. That and the story is just secondary here.
Yeah. Uh, and just, I'm sure we made this clear, but just way deeper mechanically than you would expect when you start out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, very much. A lot of strategy elements going on here.
the the VR Resistance with the level 1 membership says if Steam Frame supports Linux, I'm getting it. Can you listen? I I understood this for a really long time. People like not liking not wanting to use Windows or whatever. But I've always been confused why people, and I'm sure you can explain this to me very quickly, why people want to install Linux on things that don't need Linux. Is it like easier to hack, or what's the deal?
It is an open source platform, kind of like Firefox versus Chrome or what have you. Um, the reason why people don't like running Windows based stuff is there's so much bloatware and things running in the background that aren't necessary and taking up your system resources. Also, yes, being an open source platform, there's a lot more potential for modding and customization by the user. Um, But to answer the question, the device is going to be running SteamOS, and basically what SteamOS is a modification to Linux. So it's going to be running a Linux-based system, but it's not going to be like your generic Linux for PC.
Also, an update on the story. Javi in the chat says, we have a background story. Our goal is to launch a small cooperative campaign, in quotations, in 2026, similar to the After the Fall mode.
Beautiful. That's what we want. Players like me. When I say we, I mean me and Brian and maybe 5 other people.
Yep.
That's what we want. We want that story-driven campaign.
Elliot Henry D, Cat Allergic Game Cat Rare with the $5 says Sony has to get their shit together. Valve's headset is able to apply DFR without the devs having to apply it into their games. That's awesome. Valve's headset. Listen, you gotta remember something. The PSVR2 is 3 years old, right? Like we're already so beyond. Not saying like that our headset's outdated, because like, you know, I still think that some of the shit that it's doing is above and beyond what anything else is doing, right? I was saying recently that it's so hard for me to play shooters on Quest because when there's no adaptive trigger support, it just feels so cheap to me, right? Pulling that trigger, why did I just lose all my words? When you just pull it and there's no resistance whatsoever, it just feels cheap. It's like, this doesn't feel like firing a weapon, right? It's one of those things that improves, one of those improvements that you just can't step backwards from. Once you've got it, you can't take it away from me, right? But the headset is 3 years old, right? And so I would expect Valve's headset to have, you know, shit in it that is 3 years better than what we've got going on right now, right? And then the next PSVR headset that comes out, like, I expect that to, you know, also make shit easier for developers. That's always, I mean, it's always kind of what manufacturers are trying to do, right? Is constantly make things easier for developers to implement what needs to be implemented, right? Make it easier for them to develop games on their platform, make that become the platform of choice. But I agree that Sony has to get their shit together, because it is expensive and time consuming to get shit out on a PlayStation platform, right? It is, you hear it constantly from all these developers, like, wow, what a fucking pain in the ass this was. So I agree with you, but also, like, I also expect Valve's headset to be a nice step forward as well.
Yeah, I definitely would love to see Sony get their shit together. But the shit that I'm referring to is stuff that the vast majority of our audience wouldn't even understand. When I talk about their shit, I'm talking about their back end systems that developers have to use to create and publish a title. It is so antiquated and difficult to do anything with. It really is a barrier to a lot of these games coming over to PlayStation. It's just so tough to get off the ground. Think of the PlayStation Store and how screwed up that is, and then times that to the 10th power, man. It really is messed up. But I agree with what you're saying in general. It's very easy to be critical of a 3-year-old piece of hardware, which is a console peripheral, versus a cutting edge, next gen headset that isn't even out yet. That's 100% proprietary. Everything Valve is doing is in house, and they didn't outsource any of it. Like, they've got a lot of tech going on here that no one else has. So yeah, we have to be reasonable when we think about it like that. And I guess we can be more critical of PSVR 3 if it doesn't have automatic DFR burned in on the system level.
Wes, I don't know why I'm just bringing this up now. Is the Steam Frame confirmed to have eye tracking? Does it have DFR? Yes. It does.
It does have DFR, and I'm not sure if the DFR is burned in on the system level. And the reason why I'm a little bit confused on that is because Steam Frame actually has something different going on, but similar. And I think it's DFS, they're calling it, like dynamic foveated streaming. And essentially, what they're doing here is, and I'm sure you've noticed over the years, people being critical of the Quest headsets and the way that they do wireless PC VR through the router. And have always been critical of that because essentially to do that, the PC has to compress the video signal and then stream it to the headset, which then re-encodes it or decodes it. And this process, not only does it create latency, but the compression creates artifacts. The visual quality is degraded a little bit. So people always assumed that if Steam were going to do a standalone headset, that they would be using completely different method, different technology. Well, the fact is that they're not. They're doing streaming over Wi-Fi as well, but the way they're making up for that loss of quality in the video feed is they're using dynamic foveated streaming, where the eye tracking determines where the user is looking, and then the decoder that's decoding the video stream is focusing on what the player's looking at. So that part is being decoded in full resolution, while the stuff that you're not looking at isn't being decoded or encoded at all, which is really incredible to think of. Like, it's something that most people wouldn't think is even possible, but apparently it is, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah, but Sega had blast processing.
Right.
Don't you miss those days a little bit, man, where we didn't have to know all this shit? We're just games. We just played games and didn't have to know anything about the technology behind it. I really miss those days. Those days were really fun, and I wish we could get back to those. That's what being console gamer was all about. And that's all I want to do, is I want to talk about games. And unfortunately, the last couple of generations, really made us be like, oh, we have to learn what Mura is. We have to learn what screen door effect is. We have to learn about reprojection. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I don't want to know about this stuff. I want to talk about games and not how the games are being run. But it's just part of it now. It's just part of it.
If only we could have your magic Men in Black device, put it right up to the camera here, and have the audience forget about Mira and reprojection. Not because those things are particularly prevalent on PSVR2, but the fact is that now that the audience is educated on those things, there's a certain segment of people out there that are looking for them. Whenever they get into a new game, they're looking to see if they can find Mira or if they can find reprojection. Whereas if they weren't aware of those things, ourselves included, maybe we wouldn't even notice them, right?
That's the hope. That's the hope. The Brainbow Connection with the Canadian $5 says, I would love to campaign for Stormland and Boneworks to come to PSVR 2. Those are incredible VRAF games. Yo, listen, my entire show on Monday was all about how we need to unite as a community. We need to unite as the Game Cats, or at least PSVR 2 gamers, right? You don't have to call yourself a Game Cat. I don't give a fuck, right? But I'm just getting real tired of people being like, this is never going to happen. There's no way to, that we're never going to get this game, or we're never going to get Resident Evil. Bro, I've said it. Here's my summation of all of Monday's episode in a sentence. If the 5,000 people that watched this show all went out in full force and commented on Capcom's videos or Capcom's social media accounts saying, we really want to play this in VR. We really want Requiem needs to be on PSVR 2. That's how we want to play it. It'd be so much better with first person, aiming down sights, adaptive trigger support. That's amazing. Blah, blah, blah. Tell them how much you love their games. If you don't think that 5,000 people yelling about PSVR2 support would make a difference, you're out of your minds. You're out of your
Yeah,
fucking minds.
no, 100% it would. And what I would have people do is every time you're on social media and you see one of these posts, like from Max Mustard, for example, where there's a developer is touting how they made more money on the PlayStation platform than they did on the other platforms. Every time you see one of those, you should be tagging Stress Level Zero,
Right.
telling them that you want Boneworks and Bone Lab to come over. And again, if we all do that every time, I mean, this is a studio that's already, flirted with the idea of coming to PlayStation as it is. So maybe it's something like that that would really push them over the line.
Yeah, and I don't know who owns the rights to Stormland, right? I don't does Meta own the rights to that? Was that a Quest exclusive, or sorry, not even a
I,
Quest exclusive? It was a Meta exclusive, right?
I don't think any of us know for sure. I do remember that when Sony picked up Insomniac, that part of the news that was reported at that time is that Sony had picked up their back catalog with it. So like
Okay.
all of those IPs that Insomniac was known for before were part of that deal. So we've always assumed that Stormland was part of that. And then there for a while when Stormland was delisted on Rift, that seemed to indirectly confirm that. But Stormland did come back to the Rift store, and we've heard nothing from Sony, obviously, about whether or not it would ever come over. Um, but I agree with the sentiment. Stormland is one of the best VR games of all time, and I'd love to see it on PS5, even more so than Boneworks and Bone Lab. Stormland's awesome.
So the point of me bringing up Monday's show and just reminding people this is what I want Without Parole to be in 2026. I want us to be a force for good, and I want us to be able to really impact change in the VR community, right? Like what? So, sorry, the Brainbow Connection says I really want Stormline and Boneworks to come over to PSVR 2, right? I think these are much more attainable goals, right? I think it would if they heard 5,000 people talking about how they'd love to get Boneworks or Bone Labs on PSVR 2, then I think they would be like, hey, we got to fucking do this, right? I think that this is going to be a really profitable place for us to bring our stuff to, right? And so this just join our Discord. Click the link in the description below. Join the Discord, and like we've already set up the forum channels. We're just getting started, right? And so like all the pieces are coming together very slowly. Getting everybody organized is going to be difficult, but like we are trying to make a difference here. And so there's a place for you to like list games like this over on our Discord and say, these are the games I'd like to focus on. And, and then we start setting, hey, we start setting dates. Say, hey, for this week, we're going to focus on this game. And this week, we're going to focus on this game. And we're going to like hit up all the social media accounts. It's so easy to say, I don't think this is going to work. Or if you think this is going to happen, oh my God, you're on so much copium, right? That's a fucking loser response. I'm sorry. It's a fucking loser response. Okay, like grow a pair of fucking balls, dude. And if you're a girl, then you'll get to find out how much fun it is to have a pair of balls. Listen, it's like if of course it's not gonna work if we don't try. It's so easy to say, oh, it's not gonna work. Well, how about we fucking try, right? We've seen it work on much smaller scales. And we didn't have that unification. We didn't have people getting together and going, we're going to be organized about this. And we're going to make sure that everybody does this. We have so much more power than you're giving yourself credit for. We can make shit happen. So let's stop complaining. This game's not on PSVR 2. And let's start telling these studios we want it on PSVR 2 in a concerted, like concentrated effort, right? No one's going to pay attention if it's a few people here and a few people there, but they're going to pay attention if they hear it from everyone. So
and this is one of the big lessons in life, not just game development and VR, but the biggest barrier to anything becoming a reality in your life is yourself and your belief in whether or not something's possible. Everything's possible. You just have to believe in it and work for it. And when Brian says, why don't we try? we don't just mean go out there and make a token effort. Go out there and make it happen. We can make it happen. I don't care if you're talking about Boneworks or if you're talking about Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. It can all happen. We just have to get out there and make it happen and believe it that it can happen. There are no limits, only limits that we place on ourselves.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. And I was talking to Izzard in voice chat today, and he had a great suggestion. And this actually comes back to you, Wes. You're kind of our inspiration for this. Is that I think that maybe doing stuff live on Gamescast, right? You guys wishlist stuff live on your show, right? You like all do it together. Right. You say, let's go over and let's all wishlist this. Right? I think when you have like, this platform, and when we're doing something live, I think we should start doing it on this show, right? On Gamescast, we bring up, hey, this is the trailer that we want to like leave these comments on, right? And then we all go do it live together on the show, right? You can watch me type out my comment. You guys can come up with other comments that you think sound good, and work together to be like, oh, I'm going to tackle this part of it. Oh, like, oh, we're happy to pay a $10 VR upgrade fee or a $20 VR upgrade fee for your game or whatever it is. Whatever it is, I think that's going to have to be part of Gamescast moving forward. And so thank you for inspiring me on that, because that directly comes from virtual strangers.
Awesome. I love it. There's a number of things that we can do to help our platform grow. For games that we don't have when we want, wish list just takes a second, and tagging those developers and telling them that we want your game, that just takes a minute. Very powerful actions, both of them. And then for games that we have and we love, leave a review and tell a friend. Those things are extremely profoundly powerful. Through the execution of those 4 actions, there's enough of us in our community here to make a mark. I mean, we saw it with V-Racer Hoverbike last year. Like, that game coming to PlayStation VR at this time last year wasn't even a thought in the developer's mind, and yet here we are just a few months later, and it's already the best non-Gran Turismo racing game on the platform.
And can you talk? I don't know if you can say this. Are developers happy with the results they've seen on PSVR2? Can you say whether the sales have been good or anything like that, even generally?
I think I don't know this for certain, but the sentiment is that V-Racer Hoverbike on PlayStation is probably the most successful launch we've had thus far of anything we've done.
Wow. That's really good to hear. Really good to hear. Worthy of the 9.4 I give it.
About that. RoboQuest is doing pretty well also, but I think V-Racer Hoverbike is still ahead of it.
Good. I mean, not good. I mean, it's just hopefully both of those games get the recognition and the sales that they deserve. Awesome. So yeah, listen, join Discord. Make sure you're, make sure you're there for when we're trying to organize these things. And again, we'll be doing this stuff on Gamescast. That idea came to fruition today, so we'll get organized and maybe do our first one with Miles on Friday. Wild Hour the Game Cat Rare with the Australian $10 tip says, Happy New Year, everyone. See, it's not too late for Christmas t-shirts or Happy New Year's wishes. I love my Christmas t-shirt. It says Hail Santa at the bottom of it. That's why all the other don't grow out. It's great. He says, I'm hoping the Valve. Better. You like what better?
My shirt better. I've got the classic to the top.
Oh, nice.
It's one of my oldies but goodies. Love it.
God, you don't see those every day. I don't even. I never even got one.
This is one of the few. This is one of the few that I actually paid for. Like, I ordered this from Redbubble.
I mean, I have no objection to buying things. Developers send us shit for free all the time, and I'm like, it's never the good stuff.
Right.
To the Top was the good stuff. Where the fuck is Dan? We're still waiting for To the Top remix on PSVR2.
Word. Yeah,
doing
yeah. I could go a half an hour on the potential for To the Top on modern platforms, but I'm not going to do that again.
maybe we'll make To the Top remix a focus of one of our Gamecat Ops in the future. He says, I'm hoping Valve Box will do exactly what Wes is saying at the price we can afford. Yeah, they haven't announced any price points for any of their new hardware, have they?
No, again, the internal components are undergoing a shortage and price spike as the world is building up AI infrastructure. These data centers, they need storage, they need RAM, and so the PC prices are bloated and inflated right now. So I'm sure they're hoping to sign a contract and lock in a mass amount of components at a fixed price, and they're not sure yet what that price is going to be, and therefore they're not sure what their price is going to be. So yeah, it's a little scary, but I don't think they need to make it like $300 or anything like a Quest, but like if they could get that around $600-700, um, I think it could be a massive success.
Gamecat with the Australian $50 tip. Dude's making it rain every single episode. I think he's paying my bills at this point. The channel's soon going to be called Without Parole, sponsored by Gamecat. He says, I agree. Thank you, Gamecat, for your constant support. He says, I agree, Brian. I'll be buying Steam Frame and GameCube. GameCube, I like that. As I've tried to avoid PC my whole life due to the simplicity of console, so I'll be buying it for sure. I don't even own a computer. I run my channel and do all of my edits on my phone. You, sir, are crazy. I go
It's
nuts,
awesome.
but crazy though. I mean, might be awesome, but I go nuts staring at a big computer screen for hours on end editing. I can't imagine doing it on a phone. I think I would go insane, right? I think my vision's already going in my old age. I don't think staring at a phone while editing would help at all. That's crazy.
No, my comment is just strictly on the fact that like here we have a guy that has wants nothing to do with PC gaming because of all the things we've talked about, and now he's locked in and ready to buy two new devices, which are for sure going to cost a little bit of money, just because Steam has consoleized the PC library. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think again a lot of potential for it.
And I mean, and also, you know, Gamecat, like this is something I've been telling people. I feel like for the last 10 years, people come to me like looking for advice. Like, oh, I want to start a channel. I want to cover VR games. I want to do this. I want to start a podcast, right? People are always looking for advice from me, which I've always said is a bad idea. You should go to somebody who's successful and ask them advice. Because I don't know why you think like I've got answers. I can't figure out how to run fucking GamesCast most days, right? So, but the only piece of advice that I've ever given anybody that I think is good advice is like, don't be like, oh, I'm not going to start a podcast until I've gotten my $400 Shure microphone, or I'm not going to start a podcast till I've gotten this great mixing board, or great this, or great that, or a good camera. Bro, I think the first episode of Gaming Without Parole was shot on a GoPro that I duct taped to the wall. It was $100 GoPro that I duct taped to the wall, and it didn't have a screen on it, so I couldn't even tell until after we were done filming if we were in frame or not. Right? So, like, work with what you got. Work with what you got, and in 10 years, you could be as unsuccessful as I am. It'll be great. I promise. No, I don't. But
yeah, you don't have to get expensive stuff. The pretty okay stuff is not expensive at all, and you know once you obviously it's a step up when you do get the good microphone and the good camera, but it's not nearly as big of a step up as the price is. So yeah, sub $100 microphone, sub $100 camera, and you're good to go.
Markio in the chat says skills are more important than tools. I didn't have the skills either, right? I was a terrible podcaster. I couldn't even keep up a conversation. The second we hit record, I was just unnatural. I didn't know how to be myself, right? And so that, I think that's also why you shouldn't like go and spend a ton of money when you're first starting out, right? This is all telling. By the way, the reason for to bring this up is because Gamecat was doing this on his phone, and I applaud that hugely. Is that most people are not going to be good on their first day. Most people might not be good the first year or 2 years or 3 years, right? And so don't worry about not being good, and don't worry about not having the best equipment. Just fucking do it. And then gradually all of those things will get better. The stuff you use and your own performance. I don't know. How did this turn into my fucking TED Talk about how to start a goddamn podcast? It was not the point.
It does take time, though. You only become good with experience. So you got to be willing to suck for a while. Just like any other skill in life, you never stop learning and you never stop getting better. But it does take some time before you even get decent. So yeah.
I guess Infinite Loop has watched the first episode because he wrote, Brian, don't forget, it fell off the wall halfway through. I don't even remember that. That was thousands of podcasts ago. I don't even remember. And I cringe so hard when I watch that shit these days, right? But I'm not taking it down. Like, right, this is where we came from.
Yeah, same here. My early episodes are just so shit. They're so bad. But we've left them all up. The only ones we've ever taken down are the ones that got copyright strikes or whatever against them and were forcibly taken down. Everything else is still up.
Dan Kiefer with the $5 says, happy birthday, Scruffy Dog. Your gift is money for Brian. I did see Scruffy Dog in the chat earlier. He says it's already his birthday over in Australia. So happy birthday, although it's a little early for us over here to be wishing you happy birthday. But we don't do a show on Thursdays. So happy birthday. And thanks for the support, Dan Kiefer. Comic Book Guy with the 5 quiz says, hi, I know I might have asked about streaming, but I still don't know why you can't rent or buy 3D movies on YouTube. Can you not?
You can watch them. You can watch, like, there's 3D content on YouTube. There's VR content on YouTube that you can watch. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that was the case, but yeah, it is a bit surprising.
Yeah. Also, like, I think we talked about this a little bit on Monday, but it seems like 3D is a fad that just I don't want to call it a fad, right? Because so many people call VR a fad, and it's like, well, you're just not really educated on VR if you're calling VR a fad, right? But like, I feel like I'm pretty fucking educated on 3D movies. I've seen lots of them throughout the course of my life, but it's just sort of this thing that just won't die, right? It's sort of this medium that like has little surges here and there, right? Back in the 80s, there was like Friday the 13th 3D, right? And you have the red and green glasses or whatever it was, red and blue glasses, and then it came back, you know, like 10, 15 years ago, right? And IMAX and all that shit. And I was like, oh wow, this is a lot better. But like, I don't know, like it just feels like it's another medium that hasn't totally taken off, and so I wonder what the revenue would be like if YouTube started renting 3D movies.
Yeah, it wouldn't be huge, obviously, but something that, again, you would think would continue to grow as VR grows and other 3D devices. That this would be something that that you'd kind of want to start building your platform for now, so that later, when there are a lot of people into it, that you've got this infrastructure already taken care of. But yeah, you're right. Like, this is a technology, or not even technology, but an idea that has continued to pop up our whole lives. You know, 3D movies, 3D televisions there for a while, Nintendo 3DS, and then VR, and now we're seeing you know, computers and monitors that have glasses free 3D. So yeah, it's here to stay. So again, you would think that these platform holders would be preparing appropriately for that.
What just happened? Okay, I don't know. I got tired of watching that trailer. I wanted to change the trailer, and then everything disappeared. Grandpa's Barbecue or Gamecat with the Australian $5 tip says, I want Silent Hill F, Baldur's Gate 3, Resident Evil 9, etc. Fuck yeah. I would love a Silent Hill game in VR. I personally would want 2 remake in VR, but whatever. I don't care which one we get. And so again, we want to make sure that we have these discussions over on Discord, in the forum, and we can start agreeing on which games to focus on when. I brought up the idea yesterday. I think was it yesterday, the day before, of Reanimal, right? The new game from Tarsier. Tarsier, remember, are the same ones who made Static on PSVR1, that awesome your hands are stuck in a box puzzle game, and then they also made Little Nightmares 1, Little Nightmares 2, and then they got thrown off of Little Nightmares 3, and so they're making their own Little Nightmares game that they get to own the IP of, called Reanimal. And I was like, wow, these guys have fucking VR experience, right? Like they made Static, and we loved Static, and we don't need a first person mode for Reanimal, right? We probably just want to play it the way that that's meant to be played, but in VR, right? And so that's why I'd like to, over the course of this year, not just focus on AAA games, but also games that I think are very attainable, like this, where it's like we're just literally asking them to flip a switch. And I know it's not as simple as flipping a switch, but in this case, it's as close to flipping a switch as could be.
Kind of is, yeah.
Right? And so we're asking them to flip a switch and let us play it in VR with a DualSense controller, sitting down. Right? We're not asking for like full motion support, anything like that. Just want to play the same game but in VR. And so, I want to like kind of mix it up throughout the course of the year. How amazing would it be to get Baldur's Gate 3, Resident Evil 9, Silent Hill F? Amazing. But also I want to like see these like other goals, like be like, hey man, I don't think it'd be too much work. Could you maybe possibly consider this? Right? And that's why games like Reanimal, I'm very curious about, like, could we make enough noise? It wouldn't even have to be that much noise. Could it happen? I don't know.
Yeah. Even on a screen, like a virtual screen, like I've been calling for this since PS VR1 days. It's like these platform holders should have a 3D cinema mode inside the headset so that you can play select traditional games on a giant screen in full-on 3D. And we all know that this is possible. It wouldn't be for every game, but 70% would probably work, of like certainly of Unreal, but like Unity games as well, just because the engines support 3D. They have for many years now.
So just flip the switch. That's all we're asking for. Flip the switch. That's it. And then we get Super Limit. By the way, Wes, I think I'm going to have you pick the game for 20 questions, if you're cool with that. I kind of forgot that we do 20 questions or a 4-minute challenge. It's been a while. Super Liminal, the Game Cat with a $5 tip, says, Happy New Year, cats. Any Spark program things you can share, Wes? Oh.
Flat to VR Spark. What sort of things do you want me to share? Like, I have nothing new that I can reveal, but just for those of you who are curious, basically, this is what Flat to VR Spark is. It's another publishing label from our company, and essentially what has happened is we've gained the rights to more IPs than we have the personnel to develop. Right? We can make more games into VR. We can port more games into VR than we're actually capable of doing right now at our current size. So what do we do with those things? These are signed contracts. Like, do we just rip the contract up, or do we find a developer somewhere that wants to take on the challenge, sign over our rights to them, support them, obviously, with what knowledge and resources we can. And then when they're done working on the game, we publish it and sell it for them. So we get a cut, the IP holder gets a cut, but the lion's share goes to the solo devs that we find. So that's the idea here. It's us using our reach and capabilities to support solo devs out there who wouldn't otherwise be able to make these deals and port these games over. So we announced like 3 or 4 titles last year that we did just that with, and the most notable one being Flat Out 4 VR. Again, I can't say anything new about these titles or this program, only that you very soon are going to hear more about the Flat Out title. We're going to have news on that shortly. So stay tuned on that. But again, and this should stand to reason for most people. This should be logical for most people. But just in case people aren't connecting the dots, like these are solo devs that are taking PC games and porting them into VR. So obviously, we're not developing these games, we're only publishing them. And as such, these games are all going to hit Steam first. They're all going to come to PC first because that's where they're being developed at. And then the ones that catch on that there's a big demand for or are very well done, if we want, we can then step in and port those titles onto Quest and PlayStation as well. But that's what Spark is in a nutshell. We've announced like 3 or 4 games that are going to be published under Spark label. But the first one that's coming is Flat Out 4 VR, and there will be news on it very soon.
World of Blind Plays in the chat thinks it should be called VR Out instead of Flat Out, or Flat to VR Out.
Out of flat. Well, it's coming out of flat. So Flat Out VR in.
Oh man. Oh man. We also got Gamecat in the chat with another Australian $2. Meow. Says I can't wait for Flat Out. Neither can I.
And you're waiting for it at this very moment.
You will have no choice but to wait for it, as we've been doing. I love it. Pietrek F with the 10 plantains says, Wes, when Breath of the Wild VR mod available for PSVR2? Oh, Jesus, talk about getting sued by Nintendo ASAP.
That is never happening. Because, well, not never. I won't say never because, like I said, anything is possible. In fact, PlayStation 1 was originally intended to be a Nintendo collaboration, a collaboration between Sony and Nintendo. So everything is possible. But no, I think for the foreseeable future, the Breath of the Wild VR mod is going to live exclusively on PC. But for what it's worth, it looks awesome. Did you see any of this footage? This mod just launched last week.
I did. I saw the footage and it looks great. This is gonna sound it's just like negative for the sake of being negative, but like I love Breath of the Wild, but I love Breath of the Wild as something to do like, on my Switch while I was watching movies and TV, right? I think it's it can be very frequently such a passive game where you're traveling this big, massive open world. And I'm trying to put myself into the shoes of somebody who's like in VR playing it with 2 hands in the game and like fighting monsters and floating around on your, whatever it's called. And I just couldn't. I was like, I think it'd be really fun for like an hour. And then I'd be like, I just want to play this while on a flat screen while I'm watching movies. But that's because I haven't actually played it myself. I'm sure once I got in there and was like, playing, I would have a new appreciation for what it could be.
Yeah, and for sure, and for what it's worth, there is an option to play it third person with a gamepad. That option is in there for those that want to do that. I don't think very many people will, but Roots for example, is one of these people who's so jaded on VR now that he just wants to play flat games, and he likes the 3D and all of that, but he wants to play games. He says, I want to play the games as they were intended to be played. Um, so games like Returnal, games like Breath of the Wild, he wants to play with a gamepad, even if it isn't a VR headset. But for what it's worth, you can play it that way. If you're a PC guy, and you could float, even if you wanted to, you could float a window into your headset and watch something else while you play.
There you go. There you go. That might make it all worthwhile. But all right, man, we got to wrap this shit
does
up.
like RoboQuest. That's a good point, Chrome Colossus. He does like RoboQuest. He's calling it his game of the year, but I think he played 3 games this year, so you know.
Man, that's going to be interesting to have somebody like Roots with that perception, with that mindset, on a show about VR games. I bet that goes over well.
Well, Roots has taken a new role on the show in recent episodes, and it's something honestly I told him to do 2 years ago. He's only just now following through with it. But Roots is more of a producer now than a host. He's not even on camera anymore. He's just he's the young Jamie to my Joe Rogan, and he's running the show, hitting the buttons, and occasionally he contributes to the conversation. He'll speak up, even though he's off camera. He'll talk with us a little bit when he has something to add. But for the most part, Roots is off screen now, not really talking about anything because he doesn't want to play the games. And I think that's good. I think it'll be good for him to be fully out of it for a little while. And then, if you love something, you set it free. And when it comes back, then it's truly yours, or whatever they say.
I mean, this is the exact opposite of what just happened to me recently, right? The last 2-3 weeks, I've not been playing any VR, and I've only been playing flat screen stuff, and I've been having an absolute blast. Kind of falling back in love with flat screen games, which again, so important to be a well-rounded gamer. Like, for most of the last 10 years, I've not been a well-rounded gamer. I have played VR games almost exclusively, and almost forgotten what flat games bring to the table, right? And the level of depth that some of those games bring to the table. And these are the type of things that, we need more of in VR. The flat games with deep mechanics and longer story arcs and, more voice acting and NPCs and quests and all that stuff, right? So it just kind of gives me a better perspective as like, oh, right, I remember what real gaming looks like, I hope that doesn't impact my appreciation for VR. I hope it doesn't, send me down a path where I'm like, unimpressed by VR from now on.
That's 100% what has happened to Roots. Like, Roots will tell you, like, any game's best form potentially is in a VR headset. Like VR adds so much to all of these games. But he wants to play real games. Like, he's tired of playing these small scope tech demos that you so often see in VR. He doesn't want just a piece of a game. He wants the whole thing. He wants to play big budget, big scope games that have deep, layered gameplay loops and progression, and I agree with him for the most part. Now, I don't completely agree with him because a lot of what he calls depth, I call boring grinding. Like, I don't want to do the same shit for 50 hours over and over again, where, okay, now I've leveled up. So, the enemies are all a little bit harder now, and we have to keep grinding so that we can now be good enough to take on this slightly more difficult enemy, and lather, rinse, and repeat and repeat and repeat. Like, I don't want to do that. But I get what he's saying completely. When you see a game like RoboQuest coming into VR, and then you compare that against something like Sweet Surrender, which is natively VR,
Right.
you can see exactly Roots' point, and I completely agree with it. And it's why I think that the hybrid model is the model for the near future of VR. Like, that's what we need until we've got 50 million headsets out there. The hybrid model is the way to go because we've got enough of these smaller scoped indie games, I feel like.
Yep, I agree. I agree. And that's why I keep saying every studio from Endreams, Survios, all the way down, they need to be adopting the flat to VR model, and in doing hybrid versions of games for the foreseeable future. Yep, because you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. We can't be spending all of this money and all this time developing games that are VR only, and then only sell 500 copies of them. It just doesn't work.
That's what happens. I mean, even like with Cloudhead, that had a massively successful title, still has to lay off the vast majority of their studio because it's just not enough.
You know, what we didn't talk about with Cloudhead was that they had announced that they were working on a AAA VR game, right?
I didn't catch the AAA thing, but I did notice during Denny's big message there that he mentioned projects with an S, like they're working on more than one thing. And if I had to bet, I'd say that at least one of those projects is significantly deep into development, and they're probably at the point now where all of the nuts and bolts are in, and they can safely reduce their team down to 30% and finish the game out within the next 12 to 18 months. So
so this is actually the news about a next gen AAA VR game from Cloudhead actually comes from March 2022. We're coming up on 3 years since it was announced that they were making it.
Oh yeah, AAA. I think I do remember this.
Yeah, and so you gotta assume that if they continued working on that in secret, I mean, it's got to be pretty much fucking done, right?
It's got to be close. And let's be honest, for a studio like that while obviously they're having to tighten their belt, but they do have resources, right? Like they're not going to close their studio anytime soon. Right. For a studio like that, there's no reason to be in a rush to finish that game, because the market is in such a spot right now. It's only going to improve. They'll sell better in January 2027 than they would potentially in January 2026. So yeah, I agree. I think it probably is pretty close to done. They're probably just going to sit here and polish it for a year, waiting on the market to catch up and all of these new devices to come out.
Also, I said that all these studios should, adopt the hybrid model, but I don't think there's any games left for them to license now that Flat to VR has gone and licensed them all.
What about BioShock, Brian?
Oh, wait, forget it. I mean, everybody should be porting BioShock. Everybody get. You know what? I want Endreams and Survios, and I want Vitruvius. I want every single studio to be making their own VR version of BioShock. So when it comes out, we have 7 different versions of BioShock VR to pick from. Be careful what you wish for, Wes. Okay, dude, we gotta do the 4-minute challenge. People are making jokes about this being a 3-hour show in the chat, and it's very soon not going to be a joke. So, have you chosen a game for the 4-minute challenge?
I've done so, Brian. Yes.
Excellent. Well, you guys know how this works. I'm going to need all the help I can get. I got to dust the blow off. I need cobwebs and all sorts of shit. I need your help. Wes has chosen the PSVR1 or PSVR2 game. It's up to us. We only have 4 minutes, but an infinite number of yes or no questions to ask in order to figure out what game he's thinking of. So ask good questions in the chat, folks, and suggest good games that it might be. I need your help. I'm letting them start asking questions before I start the timer. On your mark, get Des. Go. Do you shoot guns in this game?
Yes.
Do you shoot other things in this game?
I think so.
I think so. Shoot guns, maybe other stuff. Is it?
No, I said I don't think so.
Okay. Do you shoot guns in this game? That is it. Does it have full locomotion?
Yes.
Okay. Is it multiplayer? No. How come it only cuts out during 20 questions? No multiplayer, right? No multiplayer.
No, none.
Okay. Are there zombies?
No, I wouldn't call them zombies.
Okay. Are they zombie-like?
No, not really. Maybe to a small extent, but again, I wouldn't call them zombies.
Okay. Looper's asking if we mentioned it today.
I think so, yes.
Oh, okay. Sirens on my end. Today. Robbie's asking if it's a hybrid game. No, not a hybrid game. Okay, what else is being asked here? No multiplayer, no zombies, not zombie-like. There's full locomotion, so we're going to say not Tiger Blade. Is it made by Vertigo Games? No. Not Vertigo. Okay, I gotta type faster. Sorry. Yeah, well, we didn't even figure out what platform it's on. Is it on PSVR1?
No.
Okay, so it's PSVR2. Is it on other consoles other than PSVR2? I think you need to start answering in full sentences because I'm not getting any of these.
No. No. It's not on any other platform.
Okay, so PSVR2 exclusive. That's a big deal. Unfortunately, the show was 3 hours, so I can't remember what we talked about today. Okay, was it made by Joyway?
No.
Okay. Was it made by Xreal?
No.
Would this be did this make it on my top 50 list? To your recollection, should it be on my top 50 list?
It should be.
It should be. Would it be on a top 25 list if you were making one?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is good. Is it made by Endreams? Asked Markio.
Yes.
Oh, well, that narrows it down very quickly. I mean, the only game I'm thinking that's exclusive by Endreams on PSVR2 is Synapse. So let's just make sure. Is it mostly black and white?
Yes.
Do you have telekinetic powers?
Yes.
Is it Synapse?
Yes, it is.
Damn. Man, somebody said Synapse, I think, very early in this.
Yeah, they got it quickly. I picked it because it was kind of one of the underlying things on the top 10 list that you mentioned. And I thought by saying this is something that we talked about today that it might throw you off and you might forget that we did mention Synapse during that segment.
I don't even remember talking about Synapse during that segment. That's pretty rough. Wow, the sirens are getting louder, you guys. They found me. It's all good. They found me. Maybe they'll put me into a nice warm jail cell tonight. It's fucking freezing in my apartment. That's all I gotta say. It is freezing here. I almost wore a coat for the show. And I'm like, I don't know. It's crazy cold in here, so I gotta blast the heat.
It's been nice here today. This last week, it's been in like the 60s here, which is nice.
It's been like 30 every single day in New England for the last month. So,
and by the way,
nice.
30 in Boston is like 5 anywhere else because there's so much moisture in the air from the harbor, and then like it's constantly windy, like it's blowing all the time. So yeah, I imagine 30 degrees there cuts you down pretty bad, right?
I mean, it's not. I'm not in Boston. I'm about an hour outside of Boston, and being right on the water is so much worse. But here in Worcester, it's still rough. It's still rough. Fortunately, I don't leave my apartment, so it makes things nice and easy. Just keep the windows shut, blast the heat. Everybody's happy. All right, let's knock out these last few tips, and then we'll get the ball rolling so we can get out of here. Thank you so much. Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Gamecat with the $5 tip says, just now catching up, guys. Been out to dinner. I didn't think you would still be going. LOL. Been working on my huge backlog. Woo. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to have a 3-hour show today, but you know what? We haven't done this in so long. I feel like if AJ had been on Monday's show, Monday probably would have been a 3-hour show as well. Just because I'd like to get caught up with my friends talking about our favorite topic, which is VR, obviously. So thank you guys for being here, and thank you everybody who stuck around the whole time. That's insane. Gamecat with the Australian $5 tip says, "Bring over Power Wash Simulator, Wes." He's saying specifically to you, Wes. Make it happen, Wes. He was just talking about how they've licensed too many games for Flat to VR to actually take care of all of them and port all of them. But you still, during that entire conversation, Wes, had people in the chat saying, "Bring over Panzer Dragoon VR." Like, I don't think they understood the situation you're in.
That's the thing. As our profile grows, we just keep signing bigger and bigger titles, right? So like the stuff that we originally signed, that was a big deal at that time, doesn't seem as big of a deal anymore. So we certainly are continuing to reach out to studios and sign new deals and continuing to level up. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like the stuff that we're going to announce this year, it's going to blow your mind. You guys are going to love it.
Trying not to get excited. Trying not to, right? Trying not to, but we'll see. Gamecat finishes that Power Simulator comment off with, "If there's one casual game that should be in VR, that would be it." I mean, End Dreams brought Power Wash Simulator to Quest, right?
That's just true.
Kind of stingy with the PSVR2 ports.
Power Wash Simulator, it actually was fairly well received on Quest. People bought it and played it. But as we just kind of mentioned a moment ago with even like a game like Pistol Whip, like success just isn't enough. You know what I mean? So like eventually they didn't renew with Power Wash Simulator, and they stopped supporting it. There will never be any new DLC with it, even though people bought it. It did relatively well, and people loved it.
It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me, the decisions that they get made over there. It's like Phantom Covert Ops. Like, I played this, I don't know, the first hour or so of that on Quest, thinking this is probably going to come to PSVR2 eventually, and it just never did. But I don't know.
It's a shame. It's a shame too. It's a great game.
And that is labeled, this trailer we're watching right now for it starts off saying Oculus Studios. So who knows? It could be another one of those where it's like, oh, who actually has the rights to it? Could they even have brought it to PSVR2 if they wanted to? Who knows?
They could have. The Oculus Studios, essentially at that time, especially, pretty much anything that got significant funding from Meta at that time was published under Oculus Studios. But I'm fairly certain End Dreams owns that IP and could have brought it over if they wanted to eventually, right?
Grandpa's Barbecue or Gamecat with the Australian $5 tip says, BioShock, yes, but I want flat conversions from the last 2 to 3 years. And that's why we're going to try to get a good variety of stuff. That we're going to go to bat for stuff that we think can happen. There's going to be plenty of studios out there who have never considered VR or just adamantly against VR, right? And no matter what we say, we just talked about this recently with some game that I've already forgotten the name of. The one that's like Factorium, right? Whatever game that was. Satisfactory, was that it? Was that the one? And like those developers just seem adamantly against VR. Like, no matter what we say, we said flat to VR, knocking on their door with a version of their game up and running in VR, and they're still going to be like, no, not interested. It's just there's plenty of studios like that. It's just not going to work. So I think we do have to kind of pick and choose who we should focus on, like what is worth our effort, right? And so we're going to let's make sure that we get a good variety of different types of games that are already in VR that we want PSVR2 ports of. Games sell better on PSVR2. It's easy to say, or plenty of flat screen studios like Capcom have made VR games before. They're another good one to focus on because VR is not out of their wheelhouse. They are very familiar with making great VR versions of their flat games. So I think those will be the discussions that we have. So everyone, let's have those discussions on the Discord. But I agree with you, Grandpa's Barbecue or Gamecat. We need some recent stuff. It can't just be like, oh, we finally got BioShock after 15 years. Okay, good. Is there new stuff too let's work on it. Let's work on it all.
Yeah, I think a lot of, especially in previous years, I think a lot of the game selection had to do with what will potentially run on standalone hardware. And I don't mean today's standalone hardware, but standalone hardware of that time. So as time goes on and the hardware is getting stronger, more recent games become viable. And it's not only that too. When you're talking about, flat to VR, it can be uh, a persuasive argument to engage a developer in if they have an IP that's been sitting dormant for 10 years, right? Something that they're not making money on. And we're saying, hey, within a year, you could be making money on that again. So that's another reason why we target the older games.
Hell yeah. It was something like, I would love to find out. Wasn't I think BioShock 4 was like supposedly in development for like a decade or something. Like I don't really know. Like I would love to find out what's going on with that IP, right? And if you find out, like,
Yeah,
I feel like releasing a VR version of BioShock 2 years before you release your next BioShock game, right? It kind of like keeps that franchise fresh in people's minds and go, oh yeah, this thing's coming back from the dead. Oh cool, and then you suddenly are, for whatever reason, more excited about BioShock 4 when it gets announced.
yeah, it's mind-boggling to me why the game industry just walks away from certain franchises that are beloved, like BioShock, while others, are content with remaking the same game over and over again and just giving it better graphics. I'll never understand that. There's so many classic Sony IPs that are just lying dead that would be big news, overnight success if they would just announce a new game in the franchise. But for whatever reason, they haven't done that. It seems like even more so this generation than past ones. Yeah, I don't get it.
Yep. No, and how, and Wes, we've seen it in our community. How unbelievably excited would people be if MotorStorm VR got announced, or Resistance Fall of Man VR? Right? These franchises are dead. Right? We haven't seen them, I don't think, past the PS3 era. Right? And people would lose their shit getting those games, like just a direct VR port of those games into VR. Right? I'm talking about like even the old textures, right? I really think that there's so much potential for all of this stuff. Those games looked pretty good back then.
Resistance, like shit, man. Oh, those PS3 era games are perfect. They're perfect. They could be ported easily. There's so many people that love them. And we're to the point now that, on PlayStation or Steam, those games could even be graphically updated without having to remake the game. Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer, but
yep,
who knows?
Keep banging on Sony's door, Wes. Hopefully one day they'll answer and let you guys in. I don't know
what they say.
Maybe they have.
I love to bang.
It's a good way to go out. All right, guys, it's time to wrap this shit up. So thank you so much for hanging out for the extra long beginning of the year Gamescast. Gonna try to make sure that not every Gamescast in the future goes this long, but a fun time as always. And thank you everybody that supports the channel, whether it be by contributing over to patreon.com/withoutparolegames or being a member over here or tipping during the show. You guys are keeping the lights on. I try not to make money a focus ever, right? But like, listen, this channel's not exactly profitable, right? In fact, I think I'm in the red every year once I pay my taxes, right? And it's kind of a mess. So I really do appreciate every bit of help you guys give me to keep this thing up and running so we can change the state of VR together. You guys are awesome. But even if you don't support the channel financially, we're just happy that you're here. Thank you for being part of our live chat or part of our Discord or whatever it is. Or maybe you sit back and watch the show and don't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there and we love you just as much. Happy Wednesday, Wes.
Happy Wednesday, Brian. Happy New Year, cats. We'll see you soon.
Hail Santa. Let's go. I fucking forgot we talked about A Long Survive today. The thumbnail pops up and I'm like, all right, Umami Grove and A Long Survive. Those are the things we spent the least amount of time with. But if you're new to
Yeah.
Gamescast, get used to it.
It's like, let's look back and see what the thumbnail was 3 hours ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the thing we spent 15 minutes talking about. Meanwhile, I don't even know what the rest of our show was about. That's all right. You know what? Let's take a quick look back and see what was happening and without Parole history. Oh my god, my backup hard drive. It's take your time, backup hard drive. Let's go. What are we going to be looking at here? January, first week of January or so. Let's see what we got. There we go. It finally started working again. That's perfect. Let's see. How far back should we go?
Way back.
As far you want to go as far back as we can?
Sure. No, I just always have this sound bite in my head. I don't. It's from an old show or a rap song or something where someone says, "Let's go back," and someone else goes, "How far back?" And then they go, "Way back." So every time that we do this, you might have noticed I go, "How far back?" And that's just me playing out that sound bite over and over and over again.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, we're gonna go. Oh Jesus, this does not seem like this long ago, but here it is. 4 years ago, CES 2022. It's officially called PlayStation VR 2 plus exclusive PSVR 2 Horizon shown. Oh my god, I put a space between R and 2. I put a space. I mean, I didn't put it in the wrong place like Sony does, but I put it between PSVR and the number 2. Holy crapola. That's craziness. Is this
Magical
the CES?
time.
This isn't the CES. You went to the CES after this one, right?
Let's see. 20. Yeah, it was the following year that I went. So 2023. No, I mean, maybe I think I did go to that one actually. I think that might have been the one. The first one I went to. So yeah, I mean, if it says CES and PSVR 2 in it, then that was the one that I went to.
Dude,
because it hasn't been back since then.
What a weird time this was, right? Like when we were like holy crap! Like AJ and I had been like yelling about it for like a year, like, oh, don't worry, they're making a PSVR 2, and everyone's like, they're not making a PSVR 2, right? And then they announced they showed off controllers, and they were like, hey, this is for our next gen VR system, and they weren't even calling it PSVR 2 yet. Right. And so like the headline of this show is called, it's officially called PlayStation VR 2 because we didn't even know what it was going to be called. Like we were speculating, could they possibly call it PS5 VR just to make sure there's no, confusion or whatever. But what a weird time this was.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm wrong. That was the year before I started going. I went in 23, 24, 25. Those were the 3 I went to. But yeah, I thought that that it was going to be called PS5 VR. I didn't think it was going to be called PSVR 2.
I feel like, oh, here we go. Here's from January 4th, 2023. Live from CES 2023, West played PSVR 2. So it was like the very next year. And it's like, yeah, you had actually played Horizon Call of the Mountain. So that was pretty epic. I think you were the first one of us to actually play it, and then Miles was after you. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. I remember there was so much hype over Horizon, right? Like everyone that was there, and there was quite a few of us there that played it, and everyone was just blown away and thought it was going to be the next Half-Life Alyx big deal for VR. But at the same time, there were a lot of people afraid because the setup there was so much interference in the air from all of the devices and electronics that they had going on that it was breaking the controller tracking. So the controller tracking was like really bad. And people were just afraid that the device was going to be like that the controllers just were going to suck like hard. and
Yeah.
you know, it was fueled by the, you know, at that time, uh, it was a complete change from PSVR1, which was camera based external tracking. They were moving to inside out tracking, and people were wondering, did Sony just fuck it up? Like, is they just not know how to do inside out tracking? And, you know, obviously it was overblown.
Right.
But it was a funny time, man. There was so much hype and yet so much fear at the same time.
What a weird time, and you, oh, man, I can only imagine how Sony must have felt. Like, right, like you don't get to really test this shit out that much before, you know, saying, oh, it's gonna PSVR2 is gonna be at CES and blah blah. You're gonna be able to get to play it, and then you finally get to play it. It's like, oh, it feels broken. Like,
I
God, that
almost
must.
didn't get to play it. The way that they had it set up, the things you had to you had to scan a QR code to make an appointment, and they had like it was like 20 or 30 minute demo slots that you had to fill out for, and but they wouldn't let you do it a day ahead of time. Like you had to do it within like the previous like 1 to 2 hours before the show opened on every day, and I overslept on the it was the second day that they were doing the demos, and obviously we went out late on the first day and partied hard, and I came home drunk and um passed out, and literally like I forgot to set an alarm, and I just happened to wake up
Oh my God.
at the last minute and got the last slot. Because I did take a picture of the QR code so that I could do it from the hotel instead of being there live. Um, but it all worked out, and we all lived happily ever after. But damn, I almost dropped the ball in a big way that day.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I remember that story. It's like, damn. Like I still haven't been to one of these you know, big conventions with you guys. I had no idea how much partying goes on. We kept it pretty fucking tame for the last couple Gamecat meetups.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is a completely different environment, it sounds like.
Going to Vegas this year, boys and girls, and we're going for this expo thing. Honestly, dude, unless we've got something specifically that we're going for, I don't even know if I'm going to go to that fucking expo. I could literally care less about it. There's so much other cool stuff going on in Vegas, like 24/7. Um, but there is something there. I guess have we even like checked to see if they're doing press passes and stuff for that?
No, no, dude, I forgot that I even applied for a PAX East media badge for 2026, and I just got the email saying, "Oh, you've been approved," and I was like, "Oh, maybe I should." Maybe I should go to PAX again this year, just for a day, you know, and like just do what I did on the last day and go and talk to a lot of developers. But no, it feels like Vegas is so far away, which it's not. It's like 3 months away.
It's going to be like 5 minutes. It's going to seem like 5 minutes. It's going to be time to go.
Yeah, for sure. So like you know, I'm probably going to go to that convention in Vegas for like one day just to see what it's all about, walk around, talk to people. You know, it sounds like there might be some furries there. That kind of sounds like my scene. So maybe maybe I'll check that shit out. But yeah, like you said, there's gonna be so much stuff to do in Vegas that like it's not just a
We're going
cosplay
to
event,
do
Looper. There's a lot of stuff going on there. But how much fun would it be to go? I mean, that cosplay was half of the was half of the reason to just walk around PAX and see everybody dressed up in cool outfits and shit. So,
um
yeah.
we're gonna do Omega Mart, which I can't wait to get you guys in that thing. Hopefully we go early and stay late because it's such a mind fuck and there's so much of it. And I'm probably gonna regret saying this, but Sick New World Festival is happening there that Saturday as well. Um,
Which
but
is
it's a $300 ticket is what it is through yeah. But it's like every awesome alternative and heavy metal band on earth is going to be there. I think System of a Down's headlining, and there's a ton of great bands on the card. But the tickets are way fucking expensive. So
oh
probably
my
not going to
god.
go to that, but it is there and it is an option.
Yeah, this Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. There's some. I'm just looking at it right now. Like this, it looks like it could be really good. Um,
So tune in next week for our fundraiser stream, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah. Oh my god. All right. Well, yeah. There's a ton of shit to do in Vegas, and guys, if you haven't considered it, please consider coming to GameCat Meetup 2026. We have no idea. We listen. It doesn't help that GameCat Meetup 2025 was like later in the year. I think it was May. Right. So like just being 1 month early, it feels like 2026 is coming up rapidly, but I don't know if there's going to be a GameCat Meetup 2027. We might need like a year off to recover and make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. So if you're considering coming to a GameCat Meetup, I honestly think this should be the one. It really should be.
I agree.
Yep.
And for those of you out there who's saying that, like, I don't have the money, just so you know, like, this is literally the cheapest place we could go. Like, most airports, like Vegas is a connecting airport for everything on the West Coast. Like, if you're going to California, typically you're going to have to change planes over in Vegas. But most of these airlines, these budget airlines, have like specific routes to Vegas, and they're cheap. Like typically a round trip ticket's going to be less than $200 from here anyway. Um, and with regard to like room and board, um, like I think our official spot this year is a little pricey, but it's a swanky place. If you want to stay on the strip at one of the casinos, like I believe I'm going to be doing, it's not that expensive. All you have to do is join the rewards programs for whichever one it is, whether it be MGM or Caesars. They all have these little programs you can sign up for, and you get a sweet rate, typically less than $100 a night at these places, total with all the bullshit, taxes and fees included.
Yeah.
So it's not that expensive. Now, what is expensive is everything when you're there. Like,
Right.
you want a Coca-Cola, $5. You want a pack of cigarettes, $15. Food,
Yeah.
just crazy. You're going to spend $20 on everything that you eat, at least. And I'm talking about like fast food and shit. Like you're going to get a combo meal at McDonald's, $20. But getting there and staying is not that expensive. So if you're going to go anytime, this is the one to come to.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I'm really good about I'm really good about being cheap with everything, right? Because just like that's how I live. My entire life is about living cheap and not living extravagantly and like living where I live, what I drive, right? It's all about being very, very economical. And so, if you're going to be there with us, it's like you're not going to be surrounded by people that want to go spend $50 on a meal. You're going to be surrounded by people like me who want to do this as cheap as possible, right? And I don't think it's going to be a huge pressure to be doing anything like really, really expensive. It's all about just being there and hanging out with everybody and having a good time. And yeah, we'll be getting more organized the closer we get. So it's going to be a good time.
It's a magical place. It's a magical place. You walk outside and the sidewalk is littered with trading cards, but instead of sports stars on the trading cards, there are prostitutes and their phone numbers on the back if you want to book them up. And like there's so much debauchery going on, people openly breaking the law. I won't be too descriptive in what's happening because I don't want to get us in trouble with YouTube, but it's a magical place to go spend time, and it never closes. It's open 24/7. Like it's crazy. I love it.
That's scary, but I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. It's actually my first time in Vegas. Obviously, I mean, I live in the States, and like, probably once a year for the last 40 years, people have been like, "You should come to Vegas," and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know, but this seems like such a great reason to go. So
it's going to be so fun.
Can't wait. It was kind of a joke, right? People floated the idea of Vegas for such a long time before we actually said, wait, really? Would you guys go if we did it in Vegas? And everybody's like, we're fucking down. Let's go. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, this is happening. So, yep. That's it. All right. We got to end the show. Thank you, everybody, for this 3-hour haul. You guys are awesome. We love you all. See you over on Discord.